Well, good morning. If you're new to the class this morning, you can take a seat anywhere the materials are available. Those are provided by the School of Evangelism for you. There's about $400 in materials in each bag, and those are also some gifts that we provide those who are physically present. We know that there were hundreds and hundreds of viewers using the virtual option, and if you're a student at Heritage and you have not yet received your material, you are welcome to see Travis Harmon, and he'll provide that material for you. But we're grateful you're here this morning. If you could take your Bibles to Matthew chapter 22, I want to make this as real and practical as possible. In the limited amount of time, we cannot cover all the training that a congregation or an individual Christian needs to encounter, but what we can do is we can give you a 10,000-foot view, and then we can look at some very practical items, and we want to make the expectations realistic. And one of the challenges that we have noticed in churches as we have enrolled 265 congregations is that churches sometimes have unrealistic expectations. They look at the excitement generated in evangelism, and they immediately believe that they're going to go out in their community and they're going to convert most of their friends and family. I want to put a little realism, and I want to tap down the expectations, and using a very biblical passage, or at least a principle. Let's go to Matthew 22, and let's begin our lesson there this morning. Matthew 22. So this is Jesus and the parable of the marriage of the king's son. And there are some very simple teachings in this parable that at least I missed for many years of my ministry that apply directly to evangelism. And I think it's important for the members of the church where we preach, where we work, where we serve. They need to understand evangelism in the light of Matthew 22. Discouragement is just, it sucks out the life of a church. And so if their membership has expectations that are not realistic and aligned with the biblical model, and then you're going to lose momentum, and the participation in your evangelistic work is going to diminish greatly. And it's going to discourage preachers and elders, and eventually they're just going to turn the faucet off. And so as exciting as evangelism may be, and I know you enjoyed those baptism photos I showed yesterday, and to see the 4,000 baptisms that have taken place in the United States of America, believe you me, it's exciting and it's motivating. I've said this for several years. I never thought I'd see what I'm seeing in our country. I've seen it in India, I've seen it in Jamaica, I've seen it all over the world, but I haven't seen it in our country. In the last few years, as we have seen the churches engage their communities and the baptisms begin to take place, sometimes you just sit back and you pinch yourself and you say, is it really happening? And it is, and it certainly is needed, because we see the statistics, we kind of know where the church is heading, but it gives us hope. It gives us hope because we know that the trajectory of the church can change, but we are dealing with the Titanic. And when you want to change the course of the Titanic, you don't just change it like you would a rowboat. It takes time, and you change that 1 degree at a time. Now, I was about 17 years old. My grandfather served on the USS Lexington aircraft carrier during World War II, and they were doing a closing ceremony. They were going to place it into a retirement. And so we flew out to the West Coast, and all the family, the immediate family, were able to spend a day on the carrier, and they actually took us out to sea. And as we went out to sea on that carrier, and we were, of course, going through various exercises, and it was very memorable. We started to come back in, and there were these tugboats that came in, and there were multiple tugboats on each side. They butted up against the carrier, and then the aviator or the navigator came on, and he said, "Now listen, don't get alarmed. These tugboats are here to help steer the ship and slow our momentum, and it's going to take miles to do it." These tugboats have massive engines. In fact, if you're not aware, a tugboat is almost all engine. That's what it is. It's just it's an engine that floats. It's incredible amounts of horsepower. And we're in this big aircraft carrier, and I'm thinking, just to turn it just a few degrees, just to turn the ship, they have these massive tugboats just to slow it down so it doesn't damage the port as it comes in from its mission. Brother, if you think you're going to walk into a church of Christ and change course overnight, you're mistaken. Our culture has been for decades without evangelism. Sitting in our pews are members who've never seen a Bible study. Sitting in our elderships are many elders who really have no vision for evangelism. It's not that they don't love the lost, they just never been a part of it. We still have some older men that remember. We still have some champions from Ivan Stewart's evangelism classes. We still have men that remember Bobby Bates and Jewel Miller. But overall in our churches, those men are gone. And so when you walk into a congregation and you're expecting that church just to change course and evangelize, you're talking about something that's going to take not weeks, not months, but you're talking years of effort. And as soon as you let your foot off the gas pedal, they're going to go back to where they were because it's comfortable. It's just comfortable to be who we are. And so in order for that change and shift to take place, there has to be cultural changes. Cultural changes are the most difficult changes in the church, and they're also frightening. So we preface our remarks by saying, listen, we're not here to make a doctrinal change unless it's needed. We're here to make a cultural change, and that's how we operate, how we do things. And we know that the culture in most of our churches, it's toxic. It's self-serving. It's the club mentality. It's all about the inside of the church building. And we're great servants. We serve our communities. We're really good at serving one another. But when it comes to making it an evangelistic work, which we call the one mission, brethren, we're terribly lacking. And so what I want to do is, first I want to frame the expectations. And then today, what I want to do, I'm going to spend most of my day, and I'm going to focus on the operational model. Now, every industry has a word that they use to describe what we're going to try to do today. And it's really the most exciting part of this entire seminar. I spent a lot of time on principles yesterday, and I certainly would never give the model without the principles. If you don't understand the foundation of evangelism, which those are the 7 principles, and you're not tuned into the power of evangelism, being the Word of God, none of this matters, all right? So the model is dependent upon the basics, and I hope that at least we laid those out. Now, once that's established, we go into the operational model. And now, teachers or coaches, let's talk about athletic arena. A coach might call this blowing the whistle. Okay. Now, you can practice all you want. You can run your bleachers. You can do your suicides. You can get in the weight room. But if you don't blow the whistle, none of that matters. And in fact, what a player loves to do is blow the whistle. Let's do something. Let's make it operational. And so the first 6 weeks, 8 weeks of camp, football, basketball, soccer, it doesn't matter. It's painful because you're not able to really enjoy what you're doing. You're killing yourself. I mean, you're putting it all out there, but you're not able to see the fruit of it. And all you want to do is just blow the whistle and play the game, and that's why you're there. All right, but if you don't put in that hard work, you can't blow the whistle. Now, you're in IT, some technical field. They have what's called the executable file. They have zeros and ones. They're writing their programs. They spend a lot of time, ensuring that all the processes are right. But that program means nothing if there's not an executable file. When a lot of our churches, we don't blow the whistle, there is no executable file. Now, there is no executable file. And so we're not making it operational. That's what this model does. And it makes it work. Now, let's frame it up. Go to Matthew 22, and we're just going to walk through this passage. All right. And Jesus answered and spake unto them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king which made a marriage for a son. And he sent forth his servants. Number one, God is a sending God. We cannot succeed sitting in our church buildings. We're not going to grow because we build it. The only way this is going to work is that we send people. Now, we're good at sending them to New Zealand. We're good at sending them to Scotland. We're good at sending them to Jamaica. In fact, I've done foreign mission work most of my life. And if I put together a mission trip, I can usually fill the airplane within about 30 days. And I have no problem raising the money. Brother, I do it by text. I mean, I used to do it by formal letter. I'd show up and do a presentation. Then I'd send an email. It's down to a text. I send a text. The money comes in. I can raise $100,000 in 30 days. I can go anywhere in the world. I can send our team. I can put together about 40 people. We can go do mission work. And the elders don't even blink at it because we know that we've got to send people. We've got to go. And we're going to go to every country on earth. We're going to build orphanages. We're going to build medical stations. We're going to build church buildings. We're going to have preaching schools and Bible colleges, and we're going to go all out. And we're well prepared for that. We don't even blink an eye. When a missionary says, "Hey, I got some mission work, and we're building a church building. I need about $5,000." It's like that. I mean, it's a blink of an eye. We understand the concept. What we don't understand is that being a sending God means that we need to send them to Florence, Alabama. What we don't understand is that being a sending God means that we send them to Hatton, Alabama. It means we send them to our places, our communities, our neighborhoods, and we've got to frame this in the light of not going overseas 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, but we got to frame it in the light of, let's go here. And someone says, "Rob, are you opposed to foreign mission work?" No, I'm in favor of both of them. I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. But I believe it's been so long, so far distant in our past that we've actually focused on our local communities. So when we talk about our nation and the disintegration of our country, brethren, some of that we bear responsibility. Now think about it. We've sent all our resources everywhere else. And we spend a lot of time, in board meetings and planning sessions and getting our people into these various countries, and I'm all for it. If we spend half the time focusing on our local county and the places that we live, can you imagine the success we could have? Could you imagine how God would bless that? God won't bless us if we sit in our church buildings. God's not going to bless us, we've got a great work here. We've got a food pantry, and we send out a magazine, and we give out water at the marathon, and surely we're going to grow. Brethren, we've been doing that for 40 years. It's not working. But we don't do that when we go to other countries. When we go to other countries, we are very aggressive. I mean, we put together teams of people, and and if need be, we go door to door. We have big campaigns. And when's the last time we had an evangelistic campaign in our church? No, we'll have our gospel meeting, but what about a campaign? Well, what about an effort to get into the community? Well, we started that. They're called American Mission Campaigns. If you've never been a part of one, in fact, you can write this website down, amc.housetohouse.com, amc.housetohouse.com. Caleb, if you can pull that up on the screen, why don't we just look at that for a minute, and let's talk about a local campaign. What does that look like? Well, in 2020, when Austin Fowler came to us, you giving me control, Caleb, or are you going to do that for me? Okay, amc.housetohouse.com. If you can, Austin Fowler, he's working with Brother Spencer and doing the LAM, Latin American Missions, and Yes Too. Some of you might be familiar with those great mission works. And he came to me and said, "Hey, Rob, why can't we do a mission trip here? Why can't we put together what we do in other countries?" And we started in Rome, Georgia. And I was skeptical. I was apprehensive, but I was excited because we've never done it before. We gathered about 125 people. They came from different places in the country, and we began. And brethren, there have been well over 25 baptisms as a result. It was exciting. In fact, as we were working, I felt like I was in a foreign country, not by the environment, that is the spiritual environment. And we grew it, and we keep growing it. And so let's look at this real quickly. So this is amc.housetohouse.com, and what it does is allows your members, your eldership, your preachers, your congregation to experience a mission trip in this country. So those are the dates of the two that we're doing this year. And we've gone to Knoxville, Tennessee. We went to the Carnes and West End Church. Tremendous success. I believe the preacher at West End is a graduate of Heritage. These numbers and these results happened in this country. I highly recommend it. In fact, there are whole elderships that come, preachers that come, groups of people that come, and then they take what they learn back to their local church. What are you learning? You're learning all the principles and you're practicing them. What we learned is that it works. The Carnes Church of Christ had 50 baptisms in 12 months. The West End Church of Christ was similar. They just kept, the eldership told me, they said, Rob, we've had more baptisms since we've done this, and we can remember in years and years. And what happens when we do campaigns? What happens when we evangelize our own country? We save souls. And I want to encourage you to be a part of something like this. You can register. It's free. We take care of a lot of your meals. In fact, if you don't have the ability to afford a place to stay, members of the church volunteer to host you. We're going to go to Hampton, Virginia, where Brother Ben is located, Ben Phillips, and also Glenn Hitchcock. Some of you might know him. He's the giant 6'5", 6'6". He's just a giant, and he's a great guy. And then we're going to Collinsville, Troy, Illinois. So just wanted to point that out to you this morning because this is the practical part. And mission work does work in America, but we have to send them to America. And we got to understand that's what God wants. He sent forth his servants, notice this, to call them. He's not just a sending God, he's a calling God. So if you go out there into the community and you don't call people, they're not coming. Then he says, note this, they were bidden to the wedding. He's a bidding God. He bids them, he calls them, he sends them, but they would not come. So does God just give up? Oh, well, it doesn't work. That's what our brethren do. They just give up. Oh, well, let's go somewhere else. They're not coming. No, he buckles down. And he sent forth a servant saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I prepared my dinner. Get out there and keep bidding. Don't give up. Don't stop. Don't get discouraged. Keep doing it. He's a God that sends. He's a God that bids. He's a God that he wants people to come. Now, this is what I want to do. I want us to scroll down a little bit to verse number 8. Thus saith his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden, they were not worthy. They weren't prepared. Go ye therefore, now notice this, into the highways. Go out there into the highways. So let's not give up. Let's not stop. Let's just redouble our efforts and get out to the highways. And notice, and as many, if it was my Bible, I'd circle that word many, because we're going to focus on this, because there's something here, I hope, that's going to really create a framework for evangelism at your church. For as many as ye shall find, bid them to the marriage. So he says, don't give up, get out there and keep working. Now, let's go down to verse number 10. So these servants went out into the highways, gathered together all as many. That's the second time he's used that word. Have you circled it yet? Because we're coming to it. It's not arbitrary. That's a very specific word, and it's just not filler. He knows exactly what he's doing when he uses this word. And this is the words that we need to use. Let's be biblical in our usage. Okay, and as many as they found. Now look at what he said. Good and bad. I don't care. I don't care if you like the way they look. I don't care if you like the way they smell. I don't care if you like you take the bad ones, you take the people that are struggling in life, moral deficiencies, ethical deficiencies, people have made terrible decisions in their life. You take the bad, you take the ungodly, you take the wicked, you take the sinners. Go after the good too. You take them all. Because we plant, we don't pick. Notice the operational model is based upon the 7 principles. We plant, we don't pick. So don't just go out there and look for the folks that look like you. You go out there and get them all, good and bad. I think that's important. In fact, I circled that in my Bible. The many include the good and the bad. All right, now let's go down to verse number 14. Let's bring it home. For many, that's the third time he's used that word. When you think of the word many, for those of you who you are the Bible thinkers this morning, when you think of the word many, what do you think about? What comes to your mind? Where do you go in your mind when you think of the word many? Where does it take you? It's an obvious. There's an obvious reference here. When I think of the word many, it takes me one place. Anybody think about the word many? Where does it take you in your mind? Something Jesus said. Very important. It's a great sermon. It's the greatest sermon perhaps ever preached. Everybody there yet? Let's go. Let's look at it. Go to Matthew 7. Let's go to Matthew 7. Let's look at it. Because this is where the words become very powerful. I love word studies. Again, I don't think it's an accident. Matthew 7, let's start bringing this in. All right, here we go. Verse number 13. Entering in at the straight gate. Are y'all with me? For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And many. Where are the many? Where are they going? The many are lost. The many are the lost people. Many people are going to be lost. Many people are going to lose their souls. When you're talking about the many, you're talking about the lost. Brethren, here's a fact. Most people are not going to heaven. I didn't say it. God said it. And when you're going out into the highways and the byways and you're searching for people, you're going after the many. You're looking at the many. Your evangelism work needs to focus on the many. Most of our evangelism does not focus on the many. We focus on just a couple people. Until your local evangelism gets out there to the many, you will fail. What does a church need to succeed? The many. What do most churches have? Almost nothing. Almost nothing. Hey, Rob, we're struggling with evangelism. Yes, sir. And, hey, we need some help. Be glad to. How many contacts do you have? 2. Is that what he's talking about, 2? You go out there and get 2. How many contacts you have? We got 5. 5? Go out there and invite 5. Get 5. Brethren, you're off by an exponent. You're so far off of where you need to be. In fact, the numbers that we place before a church, we're going to challenge you. No, we're not going to challenge you with dozens, hundreds. We're going to challenge you with big numbers. All right, big numbers, because that's what God wants. He wants you to get out there to the many. For as many, let's go back to Matthew 22. This is an exciting passage because this is evangelism at its finest. And it's important because it frames it. And if you don't have this frame, your membership has unrealistic expectations and you're not going to follow the biblical strategy. So Matthew 22 is essential. In fact, we encourage every church, every congregation, when you enroll in this school, we're going to challenge that local church. This is one of the sermons you need to preach and we give it to you. We have everything canned up. And because there's a process you got to follow, and you're trying to help the church create that culture where they understand the mind of God in evangelism. For as many as are called. Now let's stop right there. There's another word. What do you think of? Where do you go? Where does the mind take you when you see that word, called? For as many as are called. So people talk, well, have you been called? Where's my calling? People use that word a lot in religion, but what is the biblical usage of the word called? Where do we go? Where's a good place that defines that word? Well, just take your Bible to 2 Thessalonians 2. Let's look at it. So let's look at a biblical understanding what that word means. For as many as are called, 2 Thessalonians 2:14, here we are. Whereunto he called you, how? How does God call you? In a vision, a dream, as a religious experience? Is it something better felt than told? Is it some nudge or inclination that it's hard to define? Is it a cloud? I mean, what is it? What is it? Whereunto you're called? By the gospel. Well, what are we supposed to be preaching? The gospel. What is evangelism all about? The gospel. What is the calling power of God? It's the gospel. That is the evangelistic emphasis that we're seeing in Matthew 22. For as many, what do the many need? The many need the gospel. For as many as are called, what are we calling them with? The gospel. That's what we're calling them with. I'm not calling them with, circuses. I'm not calling them with bounce houses. I'm not calling them with, it's amazing what we see in the religious world. Oh, the church. In order to get them. That's not what he says. He says it's the gospel. That's the calling power of God. All right, let's go back to Matthew 22. Let's go back to Matthew 22. And let's keep going. For as many as are, notice this, for as many are called, what else does he say in that passage? There's another word here. There's another very important word. What's the next word, everybody? What is it? Few. Okay, when you think of the word few, where do you go? Where does that mind take? Where does your mind take? Those of you, again, you're Bible readers, you love God, you're thinking about Jesus, where do you go? Matthew 7. Let's go back. Matthew 7. Let's go back to the Sermon on the Mount. All right, we're back in here in the Sermon on the Mount. We're Matthew now 7, now not 13, but verse 14. For wide is the gate, broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. Many there be that go in thereat. But look at verse number 14. Because narrow is the way that leads to life. Few. When we do those campaigns, we go to Walmart. We buy a cheap whiteboard. Maybe like a 3-foot by 2-foot whiteboard. I mount it to the pulpit. I write on it, the few. And I look at the team. I said, we're sending you to the many. We're sending you out into this community. I've been told it doesn't work. When I got to the Carnes Church of Christ, someone said, now, Rob, we're an upper middle class area. It's not going to work here. They won't respond. I don't want to kill your joy. I just want you to have realistic expectations, Rob. You're going to go out here to this community, and it's probably not going to work. You're going to get a lot of discouragement. I said, okay. I said, let me try. We sent 200 plus workers out. After 2 days, that same person came back to me and he said, hey, Rob, the elders and I have talked. And I said, yes, sir. He said, we need you to stop. I said, why? He said, we have too many, Rob. We only went no more than about 3 miles from the church building, and they couldn't handle it. They're out there. Even in the upper middle class areas, they're out there. And I tell the workers what I want you to do when you meet a contact and you believe they're a part of the few. If you believe that contact may be part of the few, I want you to write their name on the few board. I love it. It's one of the most exciting parts of our campaign. And I look at it every single day. And the first day, we just got a couple names on it. And sometimes they'll take sticky tabs because we run out of room. They start sticking them. And after 3 or 4 days, our board is full of names. How do you find the few? Where are they? Where are the few? They're among the many. How do you find them? You go to the many. It's biblical. It's a biblical concept. If you want to get the few, you got to go to the many, but we don't do that. We do not do that in our churches. All right? So we want to start with the few. You got to start with the many. You got to get out there to everyone. And that's why Jesus said in John 4:35, lift up your eyes, look on the fields, for they're what? What did he say? They're wide in the harvest, brethren. The few live in Florence, Alabama. They're here. They live in your neighborhoods. But if we don't send our people to the few, we will never find them. They're not coming. They're not going to watch your website. They're not going to go to your podcast. They're not going to read your bulletin. They're not going to watch your video feed. They're not going to your Facebook page. All right, they're not coming. The biblical model is that in order to find them, in order to get to the few, we must start with the many. So how many do you got? How many at church? How many are you working with? Oh, Rob, we got 5 or 6. Can you imagine going back to the king? How many did you get out there in the highway? How many people did you get? Well, about 5. Did you notice in Matthew 22 the language? Did you notice? Let's go back to Matthew 22 again. This text is so fundamental. And it speaks to our hearts. It's hard to miss it. Let's go back to Matthew 22. And let's look at some of the language that is used by the Lord. And he was angry. The Lord became angry. Go back up to verse number 5 and 6. And when the king heard of this, verse 7, he was angry. He was upset. Do you think our king ever gets upset and angry when he looks at our churches today? What are you doing? Why are we having birthday parties, anniversary parties? There is not a party we miss. We're always celebrating each other. Graduation parties, teachers' appreciation days, Silver Wings days, the Golden Eagle days. I could make out your calendar. Oh, we're going to celebrate. I think we need to appreciate, our brethren, but we're not that delicate. I think we're going to be okay. When we send cards, who do we send them to? Well, the brethren, of course. We don't want to miss an anniversary. Don't want to miss a birthday. Ladies, listen, I'm all for the cards. I think you should send them. I'm not trying to in any way disparage, because it means a lot to me when I get a card. But are we sending cards to people with cancer that live next door to you? Are we sending people that just lost a loved one? Are we sending cards to a person who just got married, just had a baby, just lost their job, depressed and anxious, a person that is having surgery, therapy? Are we sending cards to those people that live in our community? Are we trying to reach them? No, we're reaching you. Great job. Congratulations. That is not Matthew 22. We're missing it. We are absolutely missing it. But we're not done yet. Let's go back, Matthew 22, because this passage it's so small but so powerful. For as many as are called, but few are chosen. Now let's talk about expectations. How many are you going to convert? Many or few? Few. That's it, few. That's what you're going to get. I need you to make sure the church understands that. You're not going to send out, 1,000 cards and make 1,000 visits and baptize 1,000 people. You're just going to baptize a few of them. Just a few. You know, if you do a few, if you get just a few, you're successful. If you get any more than a few, you're not biblical. You put it that way. That's all you're ever going to get is a few. What's a few of 10? Not much. In fact, I think if our brethren translated the Bible, if we translated the Bible and the translation reflected what we do. Can I give you the translation of Matthew 22:14? Everybody ready for this? Let me give you the translation. Here it is. Few are called and none are chosen. That's us. We call few. We get no results. It doesn't work. Go to India. Boy, you'll baptize 1,000 people in India. Yeah, but they have a crowd of 10,000. I mean, I've seen it. I mean, they understand the mini concept there. And they'll get a few. But a few of 10,000 is a lot. So if you want to find the few, what do you got to do? Go to the many. And if you want one baptism, how many do you need to go to? We have numbers. I'm going to give them to you. If you want 10 baptisms, how many do you need? I got numbers. I'm going to give them to you. So we have to become realistic in our expectations, and then we just start adjusting the numbers. Chris, you own a company. I don't know how you started. Did you ever go door to door? Did you ever do that? You probably didn't have to. I know for a lot of insurance salesmen, they have to start door to door. And if I understand correctly, if you work for an insurance company, they have a model they're going to give you, and it's something like this. You're going to have to make 100 phone calls to get 10 responses. You're going to need 100 responses to make 10 appointments. And for each appointment, this is how many policies you're going to sell. Do you think the billion-dollar insurance company knows their numbers? Do you think they just make them up? Did you not think that does that insurance company understand many are called and few are chosen? They're never going to get the many, but they can make billions of dollars with the few. And so if an insurance agent, and I've talked to members of the church that are insurance agents, and you got an agent and he's struggling, he's not bringing in income, he's having a hard time. How many calls did you make today? Oh, 3. You're off by a factor of 100. No, you need 300. I mean, that's all you should be doing is making phone calls. That's all you need to be doing is making phone calls. The insurance companies understand that. Why don't we? So how many contacts do you need in a church? 5? 10? How about 5,000? How about 5,000? Oh, you can't get 5,000. Really? Oh, yeah, you can. I can get you 5,000 like that. You put me in a congregation with 200 people, and I'll have you 5,000 contacts within 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. I will pull it out of them. They're holding on to them. They have them. They know them. They work with them. They go to school with them. They're their neighbors. Everybody pull out your cell phone real quick. Everybody pull out your smartphone. Just pull it out and let's look. Pull out your smartphone. I want everybody to look at your smartphone. I want you to go to your contact app. How many contacts you have on your app? How many contacts? Anybody have a number there? How many you got? 20, 30, 50? 800. All right, we'll start with 800. 800. When members of the church say, we don't have any contact. Now, brother, I know many of those are members of the church, but I bet not all of them are. I just wonder how many contacts sit in our pews. When somebody says, well, we just don't know anybody. Yes, you do. You know a lot of people. And they're not all members of the church. And if I were to ask a question to the audience, hey, pull out your cell phone. How many contacts do you have? And let's find out how many of them are not members of the church. Man, that's gold. Because those are people. Those are contacts. That's the many. And some of them are going to end up on the few board. We're going to put them there, and we're going to work with them, and we're going to try to reach them. That is the framework of evangelism. That's realistic. So if you're going to begin an evangelistic ministry at your church, and your members are all excited, and somehow they believe, oh no, we're going to go out there and we're going to baptize 40, 50 people. You're not going to do that with 40, 50 contacts. You're going to have 4,000 or 5,000 contacts to get that. And that's why Carnes baptized 50 people in 12 months. Because that's what we left them with. We left them with boatloads of contacts. A lot of our churches are not evangelizing because they don't have step one. They never get past first base. You're never going to score a run if you don't get past first base. First base is contacts. It's on your chart, that big chart. That's it. Number one, contacts. Number one, contacts. If you don't have them, you fail. You can have all the Bibles in the world. You can have a room full of Bibles. You can have all the back to the Bibles, the open Bible studies. You can have all of them. You can have the warehouse of Jewel Miller. It doesn't matter. You don't have any contacts. What good is it? What good is Walmart without customers? You know what Walmart is without customers? Bankrupt. You know what a church is without contacts? Dead. Dead. It's a dead church. So I hope that Matthew 22 helps to frame what we're trying to do. I'm going to use this PowerPoint this morning. In fact, while I'm doing this, as the day progresses, there are some tools in your bag that I want you to look for. And there's a stack of cards. They look like this. They'll be rubber banded together. And throughout the day, I'm going to refer to these. There's actually 14 of them. There's actually 15. We call these training cards, and I'm going to demonstrate why this is important. This is one of the things that our churches do not do well. How many of you have ever been to a training class for work? Raise your hand if you've ever been to a training class. Teach you how to do something. Anybody? Okay. Like quality control, safety, how to use a tool, right? A training class on how to use a software or program, training class on, how to greet people and be kind. Our businesses and industries spend bukus of money. I mean, lots of money on training. My dad worked for Delta Airlines. They put him in charge of the training department. His budget was explosive. I mean, it's incredible how much money Delta Airlines spends on training. Well, they better train their people right. I mean, your life depends on it. I mean, from the top to the bottom. They go through extensive training. How many times do they do it? Every year. How often does a pilot go into the sim? All the time. How often is he graded? Constantly. How often does that mechanic have to go in there and prove that he's proficient? It happens all the time, all year long. Every time there's a change, they train. They train, they train, they train, and they train. You work for Toyota. You're elevated to management. Guess where you're going? Japan. Why? You're going to learn their way of doing it. Now, let me demonstrate. How many of us have ever been to a training class at church that teaches us what to do when a visitor walks in the door? How many of us have ever been to a training class at church that teaches us what to do when someone moves into the area? And what's our congregational plan? How many of us have ever been to a training class that doesn't tell you to go door knocking, but teaches you exactly what to say when you get to the door? That teaches you what not to say, that teaches you where to stand, that teaches you the approach and strategy. How many of us have ever been to a training class that teaches us, all right, what do you do with a new convert? What's the first thing we should do when a new convert dries off? Because you have a limited window to do this. Limited. It's very limited. It's so small that if you miss this, it could affect the lives of hundreds of people if you miss this one. Most of us have never had that training. In fact, I'll go further. Most preachers have never had that training. And because we don't spend time training our church members, because we don't invest in our members, we'll invest in India. Don't worry. $5,000. Just like that. We don't even blink an eye. We don't even talk about it. There's no even discussion. But I'm asking the churches now, how much is your membership worth to you? How much are you willing to invest in your members? Oh, well, we've invested a lot in our preacher. Well, your preacher can't carry the water for you. If your evangelism plan is preacher oriented, you fail. I don't care who he is. I don't care how talented he is. It fails right there. If all your evangelism depends on the shoulders of your preacher, your church does not grow. The only way it grows is if we place it on the back of the membership and we get the members trained. The members don't have to know what Chris knows. They don't. But they got to know something. The membership doesn't have to know everything that you know, the preacher, or even the elders. In fact, it's good that they don't know all of that stuff. But they got to know something. And every member of the church needs to know his place. And that place is evangelism, and it's somewhere. So those training cards that we're going to use today, I'm going to reference them. Each one has a sermon attached with it. I do not have time to preach all the sermons. But every one of those is designed to train your church. And part of our training process is we put that card in the hand of every single church member. And we say, preacher, here's your PowerPoint, here's your sermon, preach it. And then after that's done, we say, elders, who's going to be on that team? Tell us. We need 10 people. Pick them. You pick the team. Tell me who's the coordinator. And if the eldership's really on spot, that eldership is going to look at that team leader, and he's going to say, every quarter we're going to meet, and I want you to tell me how your team's doing. I want you to tell you, what do you need? What resources are you lacking? Is it working? Do we need to make adjustments? Sounds kind of like the business world, doesn't it? Oh, Rob, you're turning the church into a business. Listen to the Son of God. I must be about my Father's business. Maybe if we would be as deliberate and intentional with the church as we are the business, we would succeed. But we turned the church into a club. We're just a civic club. And we just get together and pal around. Well, how's it working for you? What kind of success are we having doing that? We're not intentional at all. We're not focused. We don't even know what the mission is. There's just one. So let's go ahead and look at this PowerPoint together, and I'm going to advance it. This is our 6-step process. We have 6 steps to success. These 6 steps are crucial. It's every successful business that I know of, at least in the world, has a business model. And so I've had teachers, and I've had business owners, and I've had school teachers. Let me tell you the elder, the school teacher, the biologist. Hey, Rob, here's what he said. Yeah, that's not an evangelism model. That's the life cycle of a frog. I said, what? He started. He said, now up there, that's the egg, and that's the fertilized egg. And that's the tadpole without legs. That's the tadpole with legs. That's the frogette. And that's the fertilized egg. Rob, that's called the life cycle of the Church of Christ. You insert whatever you want into that. But everything that's successful has a life cycle. It's got a system. Do you think Walmart knows their model? Do you think Walmart has a model somewhere in corporate where they follow it? Do you think Ford has a model? Do you think Chick-fil-A has a model? Back there in that office at management, and he shows that model. He says, here's where you fit. Your job is right here in that model. That's where your job is, right there. That's where you fit. All right, and here we're going to make you the best, cook, the best service counter. We're going to make you the best janitor. We're going to make you the best, whatever it is. You're going to be the best at what you do. Every business does that. Do you think the military has a model? They're called recruiters. Where are they? Where are your recruiters set up? Where are they? On the mall. Why? The mini. Isn't that right? They want the mini. They go after the mini. Are they going to get the mini? No. They just need a few. Do they know how to do it? Absolutely. Do they have a model they follow? They sure do. Hey, man, if you want to come inside, we got a $20,000 signing bonus today. I just need 2 years of your life. $20,000. And we'll pay for your college when you get out. Hey, man, you like to fly Hueys? You want to get in a tank? You want to fire artillery? Come on in. 20,000, 30,000, 30,000. No, 30,000. Do you think they know what they're doing? These recruiters are excellent at what they do. They have a model. What's your model? Do most churches have a model? Absolutely not. Well, we try to help congregations develop it. Now, we just didn't arbitrarily write this model. We didn't sit down on a piece of paper and say, okay, let's look at Walmart and let's make our model. No, I said, let's go to the book of Acts and make our model. So what do you find in the book of Acts? Okay, people, Pentecost. On the day of Pentecost was fully come. They were all at one place in Jerusalem. And who's there? Who's at Jerusalem? Lots of people, contacts. Notice how the church starts with lots of people. The church needs people. The airlines call them passengers. Doctors call them patients. The military calls them recruits. Coaches call them players. Without them, you have no practice. You have no classroom. You have no business. So what does the church call them? Just contacts. They're members. They're people. We need them. Without them, you don't succeed. So how much effort should be placed into step number one? How much effort should we place in that step? A business might call this customer acquisition. Is that a budget item? Customer acquisition? Like when you say we're going to put advertising on billboards and we're going to social media advertise and we're going to send out flyers and we're going to do word of mouth and we're going to go door to door and we're going to, it's called customer acquisition. Anybody ever watch Shark Tank? You ever watch Shark Tank? That's a really good show. And one of the questions that they always ask the entrepreneur is, what's your cost per customer? How much does it cost you to get a customer? And they want to know. How much does it cost to give you a customer, church? How much are you willing to invest? Because you got to invest time, manpower, because you got to get them. If you don't get if you don't succeed in step number one, the model falls apart, right? It just falls apart. Oh, we got great teachers at our church. Okay, do you have contacts? Well, we're still working on it. I mean, let me put it in terms that the Heritage Christian University will completely understand. A Heritage Christian University without students is what? It's right. It doesn't work. First thing I asked Kirk when I saw him, Kirk, how many students do you have? He said 160 some odd. I think it was somewhere in that range. And I said, it's great. He said, yeah, Rob, our enrollment's up. We're doing well. And why is that why would a preacher, why would anyone ask that question? Because I want Heritage to do well. And I know if you don't have students, this university does not make it. All right, preaching schools. I always ask I work with 10 schools. So I go to a preaching school. I said, how many students do you have? How many are coming in? That's always on your mind. You're always thinking that way because you know that success and failure depends on that. Whoever's in that office, I don't know who takes care of that here at Heritage, but you are so important to this university because without that job, if that doesn't work, your whole university falls apart. Contacts. Now, what we want to do, and I'm trying to, again, I want to make this very practical, is we got to help churches focus on that. Chris, I've got a question for you. I know you're the pool guy, at least. I think that's what you put in. What's the number one way your business gets contacts? Customers. Yeah. Word of mouth. So that's the number one way. Is that cheap? Pretty cheap, isn't it? Does that cost you a lot? Do you have to give them money to give? So it's free, isn't it? So those customers, if you do them a good job, and if you make that good relationship, and you do everything they want, man, I can't thank you enough. This is so beautiful. This is exactly what you promised us. That customer is going to go do what? They're going to go tell their neighbor, hey, if you want a pool, go talk to Chris. Go talk, because Chris Miller Pool, they're the best in the area. Now, who is your best contact creators at your church? Who are they? Who, Carol? The members. It's cheap. It don't cost a lot, right? They're sitting in your pew. There's no better way. Who's the best contact creators for Walmart? Customers. Let me tell you a story about my wife. And my wife loves sales. I mean, there's nothing that motivates her more than a sale. And so if she sees sale, if clearance, we're going. And it's all right. You know, it's what she enjoys doing. So we really love the holidays. And what she wants more than anything after Christmas is she's waiting for Walmart to do the 70% off. That is the key. We go in every day. We're looking. Does Walmart ever advertise the 70% off? No, because you will. Because as soon as she walks in and she sees 70% off, oh my, Rob, it started. I mean, every friend contact we got. And we're going to let everybody know. And they're all coming. And I'm telling you, by the end of 2 days, there is nothing left in that aisle. And I'm looking at a buggy. I'm saying, well, what's all this? Oh, it's 70% off. Well, honey, what do we need? Well, we're going to put it in the attic. We're going to use it next year. I mean, it's the best contact creators you got. It's the customers that are in the store. The best contact creators you got are your members. Do they know that? All right, so we preach a sermon and we tell them, hey, you're the best contact creators we got. How do they become a contact creator? What do they do? What are you asking? Are you asking them to give you contacts? At the Willette Church of Christ, we started this, and I said, listen, everybody, we're going to practice a congregational model, and one of the things I need you to do for me is I need you to bring me names of people that are contacts. And I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know how to frame it, but I just knew I needed it. Brandy Fleming brings me Sharon Fisher. Brandy Fleming brings me Dustin McKay. They just keep bringing me names of people. And because of them, we start getting contacts built up so we can, again, move them around the system. But without the membership, I'm kind of dead in the water. Who's the worst contact creator you've got in your church? Brother, what's your name? You're the worst. I don't mean to be disrespectful. Do you know why you're the worst? Because you're surrounded by who? The church. And it's no disrespect to our profession, right? It's no disrespect. There are things that you excel at. They're better than the membership. But you know there are things that membership is better than you are? Because they go to school, they go to work. They just know them. They grew up. They know all these people that are not Christians. You know, I was with Brother Terry. He's one of the elders at Petersville. And we walked into Slim Chickens over there and sat down. I don't think one person walked into Slim Chickens he didn't know. And my wife hit me. She goes, Rob, he knows every single person that walks in this door. He's a contact magnet. He knows every single human being right around that area. He's lived there all of his life, all right? And so he has family roots. And so where are the best contact creators? They sit in our pews. And we must engage them. If we do not engage them, it doesn't work. How do you engage a church member? Everybody look for this. If you don't have it, it's your bookmark. Look for it. One of the things we got to do is get our members thinking about contacts. We have to help them think contacts. So one of the things we do is we encourage churches. This is one of the first steps they take is we need you to pass out this bookmark, and we need every member of the church to write down names of people they know they're not Christians that they want to bring to Christ. You got to refresh it about every year. And this is actually my list. It's got scratch marks all over it. And those are the baptisms. I scratch them off once we baptize them. And I list them. This is my personal list. So if you're at a congregation, Cross Point, brother, how many members are at Cross Point?
850.
You have 8,500 contacts sitting in your pews, at least. They sit in your pews. They have the names. They know them. You probably have 10,000. I mean, the average member of the church knows 10 people that are lost. And if I were to ask this question, how many of you know, how many of you know 10 people that are lost? Almost everybody raises your hand. You got a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, another lawyer, and another lawyer, and you said all these, you know, all these people, and I love lawyers, and so you just start naming them, right? And you got the plumber, the electrician, the HVAC worker that comes over, once a year, and they're all the neighbor behind the street, the neighbor to my left, the neighbor in front of me, my co-worker, my ball team member, my coach, the left fielder, the center fielder. How hard is it to get them? The gas station attendant that I see, a couple times a week, and we always say hello. That's another one. We call that the mini, right? The mini. Well, let's create the mini. Now, we encourage churches to start with that. That's a good starting point. If that's all you do, it goes stale and it dies. But you got to start somewhere. So what we do is we pull them out. And I'm going to make it very uncomfortable for you as a member if you don't participate. I'm just going to assume you are participating. And if you choose to sit there and do nothing, you're going to be ashamed because everybody else is going to be doing it. And I'm going to ask, where's your names? Who do you got? Put them down. Do you even care about people? Do you love your mother who's lost? Do you love your aunt? Do you love your son? Is your son saved? If he's not, put him on the list. Is your niece saved? Put her on the list. Well, you can't reach family. Says who? Says who? Of course you can reach your family. You're very significant in that. We've been told, you can never reach family. Okay, cross them off the list. Well, you can never reach your friends because you can't reach your coworkers. That you may cause problems. By the time you're done eliminating everyone, there's no one left to teach. And we just eliminate every single person because we're picking instead of planning. Put them on the list. I don't care how hard you think they'll be, put them on the list. So it's the first thing that we encourage churches to do. Now, the bookmark is very important, and I'm going to try to advance this a little bit and show you what it looks like here. So in our model, Caleb, I think it went to sleep. If we can move it forward. In the model, what we want to do is break down each section of this into small parts. We want to break down each section into small parts. And there's a lot more to this than what's listed. But that's an example of how it works. So what we start with is our target list. We build it. This is the membership list. And we call those contacts warm. So write down 3 terms for me if you can. Write down 3 terms. This is going to be helpful. Write down the word hot, warm, and cold. That's biblical terms. And I'm going to populate this list throughout the day. So a warm contact is someone you know, but they're not in your pews. That's a warm contact. So it's a customer, Chris. You know them. You've done business with them. They're not in your pews, but you know them, and they're warm. A cold contact is the unchurched. Just write down unchurched. No one knows them. They're very hard to get to. Door knocking is one of the ways we get to them. They're very difficult to get to. They're baptized at the lowest percentage. They're baptized at the lowest percentage, but I'm still going to try to reach them. I'm still going to try to reach them. Now, write down the word hot. Hot. Write down that word, hot. Under hot, okay, is the second category up here. It's called visitor, or brother, you call them guests. That's a hot one. You know why? They're in your pews. They're sitting inside your church building. So we've got to begin to identify where are these contacts located. All right, new movers. A person moves into the area, okay? And that's a cold contact. We normally don't know who they are. But when it comes to cold contacts, they're some of the better ones, and we're going to work on those. What about community outreach, congregational activities, invitation cards, house to house, heart to heart? And we just start listing them. Backpack drive, vacation Bible school. If that's not a contact creator, I don't know what it is. And it should be. What about your graduation banquet? Oh, it's a contact creator now. You know what? He said, Rob, how is a graduation banquet a contact creator? Well, does your senior have a teacher that's not a member of the church? Does he have a friend that's not a member of the church? Does he have a family member that's not a member of the church? Why don't we encourage our teenagers to invite all their family that are not members of the church so we can get to know them? Because they may not come to a worship service, but they'll come to honor Johnny. They're going to come to be a part of that celebration and say, we've got this party and I'd like you to come. The church is, I'm allowed to invite guests. So everything that we do, I'm not here to shut it down. I'm not here to shame you away from a graduation banquet. Yes, decorate your auditorium, get the money tree out. I mean, whatever it is you do, do it. But let's make it evangelistic. It's a contact creator. And so there's a lot of different ways to develop contacts in a community. You can do a community meal. We do it at Glencoe. We have a first responders meal. And it's like we get about 50 to 60 of them on that day. We do it during the middle of the day. And we contacted the local community, and we said, the mayor, and we said, listen, I said, we want to feed your workers for a lunch. Would you just send them to the church? And they all came. And we all sat with them. We got to know them, introduced ourselves, found out a little bit more about them, listened to them, used our principles. Are we going to get a lot of baptisms from that? Just a few contacts. I just need a few. If you give me just a few contacts, we'll prospect them. We'll move them down the list. So all of this is being developed. And so in each one of these steps, we're going to provide you the training to complete and be successful. That's the key. All right, now let's start. There's your bookmark right there. Everybody's got their bookmark. So you start, you pass it out. We have a sermon associated with it. You preach the sermon, you pass it out, and you ask the members, write down your contacts. I can't imagine 8,500 contacts. That's a gold mine. I mean, that's incredible to have you. 8,500. Now, only lost people go on here. Only lost people. So your name doesn't go on there. The unfaithful go on there. So do you know someone who's fallen away from the church? Put them on there. Because we're going to evangelize them too. Yeah, we're going to reach out. We're going to do everything we can to reach them. We see about a 30 to 70% return rate by doing what I'm about to show you and teach you. So we're just going to keep populating. Now, so if you've got 850 members and you pass this out, right, to 850 members, and you go through the training and you got 8,500 names, do you have 8,500 contacts? The answer is no, because your wife and you duplicated. All right, so people are duplicating answers. So let's just say out of 8,500, you end up with 6,000 contacts. We're gonna dial that number down a little bit. It's a little bit more than half because there's duplication. So you got around 6,000 contacts just from a bookmark. Now, what's going to happen is for the first couple months, the members are really excited. They're really going to participate. Then it's going to wane off a little bit, and we're going to change our tactic. We're going to change the way we do this. And so we're going to go from the worship service, and that's where we're going to start. One of the elders at Petersville said, Rob, our biggest concern is participation. He said, they're just not going to participate. I said, we're going to give them no choice. Why? Because we're going to do it on Sunday morning when they're sitting in the pew. We're not going to do it on Monday night. We're not going to do it on Wednesday. We're going to do it on Sunday morning right after this preacher finishes the sermon. They have no choice. And all we're asking for is a name. Brother, do you know anybody that's lost? Anyone? Just write it down on your bookmark. If you're not writing someone down right now on your bookmark, there's something wrong. Do you really love people? Do you want them to go to heaven? Do you really want to stand before God and say, God, I didn't do a thing to reach the lost? Let's do some preaching. Let's look at our audience and stop petting them and telling them how good they are, and let's motivate them a little bit. You know, sometimes we've got to do some preaching in our pulpits and help our members understand that you're accountable. You're going to go before the God of heaven and earth, and you're going to give an account. Did you help bring just one person to Christ? Remember I said I'm not going to let you off the hook. And if I have to shame you, I will. That's my job. What's the job of a preacher? Comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. That was drilled into me when I was in school. I don't think we even know what that means anymore. Sometimes we have to preach hard things. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the preacher has to be the bad guy. And he's got to just really lay it out there. But you know what I found? I'll tell you what I find when I travel, because I go to 45 churches a year, 5 schools a year. I do 5 one year, 5 the next. Members are longing for that preaching. They haven't heard it for so long. They want someone to tell it. They want someone to lay it out there. And And so I know sometimes we need to pet them, we need to build them up, we need to love them and hug them and tell them how great they are. But sometimes we have to point out deficiencies. Sometimes we have to show them there are things that we're lacking, and we're going to stand before God. And if there's one thing that I'm going to give account of, it's, did I do the one mission? Did I reach lost people? Sometimes I'll say it like this. How many of us want to be like Jesus? Raise your hand. And everybody raises their hand. All right, good. Let's go to Luke 19. Let's read verse 10. For the Son of Man comes to seek and save the lost. How many of us are doing that this morning? Oh, by the way, if you want to be like Jesus and you refuse to do what Jesus did, guess what? You're not like Jesus. I mean, there's 100 ways to do this. I'm going to encourage and motivate and love, but I'm also going to chasten. I'm going to play both sides of this. In fact, take your Bibles real quick, and I just want to point out how important this is, because these are things I don't always get to do, but I'm glad I'm in a class setting like this. Go to 2 Corinthians, and let's notice how balanced God is. Let's notice that God is a God on both sides of the issue, and preachers have to do this. We have to do this. Let's look at God. 2 Corinthians 5:10. Verse 11, knowing therefore the fear of the Lord, we persuade men. Is fear persuasive? Sure it is. When's the last time you felt the heat of hell in a sermon? When? Let's go to the next verse. Go to verse 14. For the love of God constrains us. If that's not a balanced God, I don't know what is. You got the love of God. We hear a lot of sermons on that. Brother, maybe we need a verse number 11. In fact, in verse number 10, we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that every man may receive the things done to the body, whether they be good or bad. I can tell you, when I was in full-time work, I'm not in full-time preaching, I had no problem standing before the church and doing the very things that I'm demonstrating right now, because that is my job. My job is to make sure the membership realizes that we're going to give an account. Did you even try to bring one person? I'm not asking you to do a Bible study. I'm not asking you to knock a door. I'm not asking you to do anything other than give me a name. Can you just give us a name? That's where it all starts, and usually where it ends. Because if we don't get that, it's over. It's all over. Brethren, we'll take a few minutes, and I'll catch my breath, and I'll stop. I love to preach. And I have no idea where I'm going today. So I'm just going to take you through this model. I'm going to get you into the website. And I'm going to try to show how this is practical and operational. Thank you for being here. And you really encourage me. So let's take a few minutes. We'll stretch our legs and we'll come back. it's important that we have an operational model, and so we'll just continue on this same line of thought. I do enjoy the visits, your experiences, talking about the things that you've done and the church where you're attending is doing. I do want to assure you this morning that the School of Evangelism is not the Rob Whitacre School of Evangelism. It's not. This is your school. The school was made by the members. It's made by churches. And every congregation that's involved in evangelism is giving us constant feedback. Chris just talked to me about something that they, a contact creator. And these are things we want to add to our process and add to our steps. And so we have not cornered the market. What we do is take the collection of not ideas. Everybody's got ideas. We want things that work. And so if every business owner did every good idea, they would quickly not have a business. And so, because not every idea is going to manifest itself in fruit. And what we want to do is take what works. So when someone says, hey, we've got this work that we're doing and it's really producing, what we do is then test it. We test it in different places and see how it works. Then if it works, it really works, we incorporate it into our school. So feel free to share. Feel free to share things that you've experienced that have really resulted in fruit, and we'll take a look at it. And we do want help in order to make this successful. So let me talk a little bit more about the bookmark. We encourage you to do this on Sunday morning, right after the sermon, or at some point where you have the attention of the church. Chris mentioned that his elders do that at the very beginning. It's the first thing his eldership does every single Sunday. They bring out and this cannot be something you do for a month. It cannot be something you do every now and then. At Glencoe, every single time our elders get before the church, they pull out the bookmark and they say, okay, everybody look at their bookmark. Everybody, does anybody have a contact today? Does anybody have somebody they know? And, after you've done this for a while, there may be a week or so where you don't get a contact. But then there may be 3 or 4, and you're going to go ahead and move those to the prospect list. So this is very important. Now, in order to, keep it fresh, it's not unusual for a church maybe to try this during Bible class. So the individual teachers, the high school teacher, the college teacher, we have so many different groups. So they will say the singles group, the married group, the young married group, the parenting group, the young professionals. And so everybody bring out, let's and have a discussion. Make it so the worship service is kind of formal. There's not going to be a discussion. But a Bible class, you have a discussion. The Bible class becomes an evangelistic place. And you say, hey, tell me about that contact you have. So I noticed when we were at Glencoe, when we were starting this. Now, Glencoe, we started with 45 people. We're now over 100. It's been an incredible transformation in that church. But when I started there, all older people, we're the youngest people. And that's where we're members. I'm not the preacher. I don't serve in any official role. The elders kind of, as a sounding board, they're following the model. The elders said, Rob, we're having a hard time getting the members to give us names. And I said, well, try this. Try to have a discussion in Bible class and ask. Don't even talk about the bookmark. Ask, does anybody have anyone in their life right now that we could pray for that's having a problem? And the hands went up. It blew me away. And so the hands go up, and this lady says, I've got a next door neighbor, and yeah, she just found out she had cancer. And my wife looks at me, we look stunned, like deer in the headlights. I just did this. It was one of those moments where we've been trying to get you to tell us about this woman for weeks. Why haven't you helped us? And so I went to the elders and I said, sometimes you got to go in the back door. And so the training's important because sometimes the members just don't quite get it. So if you change up from time to time the way you do it, and just ask it differently, you'll get a little bit more response. So I'm always learning on how to do this a little bit better, whether it's worship, during Bible class, but we got to pull the names out because the membership has the names. If the membership is not giving you names, I promise your evangelism is not going anywhere. Now, Once we do that, of course, we're going to move them to the contact card in your box. You don't have to get it out. And everybody here is welcome to take that bag and that poster. It's about $400 of materials, and we've donated to you guys. That contact card, you have these in here, okay? And this is what we want members to do. So our deacons are ready as the hands go up to hand these out. Say, okay, here, notice the asterisk. The asterisk is the first name, the last name, and the address. Brethren, I even have a 30-minute PowerPoint lesson on how to teach people to fill out a contact card. All right, so that's how detailed we are. And so sometimes even that, what do I do? Listen, the asterisk. All you got to do is worry about the asterisk. First name, last name, address. That's what I need. Do not give me a card that does not have an address. I can do nothing with that card. This is not the prayer list, right? You know, the prayer list, every bulletin has a prayer list, all these names that are on there. Most of us have no idea who they are. Sometimes they've been passed away for 6 weeks. We don't even know. I've been a part of this list. This is not that. This is completely different. We're using the contact card. Notice what it says there. We're using the contact card as a transfer portal. So that is the way we transfer. Where are we transferring it? We're transferring it to the prospect list. The prospect list is on page 104, maybe, of your Evangelism Simplified Guidebook. But in any case, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create, all right, a list. This is a printed list. It's a public list. Now, notice prospect. See the name prospect? It doesn't say contact, because now we've activated the contact. The contact is no longer sitting on a bookmark. The contact now becomes an activated prospect. So let me help you understand the terminology. So we are very precise in our terms. And I was in Alaska, and we were training 11 churches, and we were in the Kenai Peninsula. My family was driving up. We had a lot of time that day, and I went by this shack. It's literally a shack on the side of the road, and there's a river down below, and it said Prospector Joe. I said, Dad, that's Prospector Joe. He's on Discovery Channel. That's the guy. So we pull in, and I met him. He says, oh, y'all wanting to do some prospecting? I said, yeah. He said, it's so much money per person. Well, it was my mom, my dad, my family. And so, yeah, whatever. We want to do this. You know, we're going to strike it rich, right? No, we just want to go through the experience. And so I said, well, do we need to go down to the creek bed and, get some pay dirt? He said, no, son. He said, I got it for you, He said, right here. And he had a pile of pay dirt. Everybody got a 5-gallon bucket of pay dirt. So we filled up our bucket with pay dirt, right? And then we go over to the sluice box. He has individual sluice boxes. A sluice box is it's the water runs down it. You put your pay dirt in it. It sifts it. It's a sifter. It's sifting through the product. Now, stay with me, because this analogy is spot on to what you're doing. Okay, spot on. So we go through, we sift it out. Then he takes the pan at the very end, pans out, and you get a little bit of gold. We all got a little bit of gold. It's not worth much, but we all got some gold. It's a memorable experience. Prospector Joe. What's Prospector Joe doing? Watch this. Prospector Joe, let's go back to our model, takes the pay dirt. That's pay dirt. The Bible calls it soil. I don't know if it's good or bad. Matthew 22 says go to the good and bad. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm going to find out. All right. It's not up to me. It's up to them. All right. So I'm going to take the pay dirt. How much pay dirt do I need? How much pay dirt does Prospector Joe need to make a living? 5 gallons? How about 5 tons? All right. Does he understand many are called, few are chosen? Does he get that? Every industry, it works. It's amazing how all the successful sports teams, military, businesses, companies, they all work the same. They all have the same model. So Prospector Joe gets out there, and he has lots and lots of soil. How much soil do you need in order to be successful? Lots of it, right? So how about a farmer? So I'm with 2 farmers. I'm in Missouri, and I'm in Sanford, Missouri, church of 60 people. And I got 2 farmers sitting in front of me. And I love farmers. I've grown up as a rural American. I'm more comfortable there because that's how I grew up. And I looked at that farmer. I said, hey, brother, I said, how many acres do you farm? He said, oh, about 5,000. I said, 5,000? I said, you greedy farmer. I said that to him. Look, he said, what do you mean greedy? I said, 5,000? You don't need 5,000. I said, how many acres your daddy farm? He said, oh, probably about 500. I said, greedy farmer. See, you just need 500. He said, son, do you not know how much fertilizer costs? Do you know how much a seed costs? Do you know how much a combine costs, a tractor costs? And he starts going through this. And he was getting a little riled up, and I smiled at him. I said,
Many are called, few are chosen. I said, you need more farmland if you want to produce more crop, don't you? And he smiled at me and says, I get it, Rob. If you want more baptisms, what do you have to do? You have to increase your soil content. See, it's natural for me to think like that. I think like that all the time. It's not natural for our members to think like that. But they think like that in farming. They think like that at work, but they don't think like that at church. You have to have more contacts. And you've got to gather them together. And then what we do is we sift them. What does prospecting mean? Sifting. So we're trying to find out, are they good or bad? I don't know. I don't determine that. They do. I don't know if they're good. I'm going to assume you're all good until you prove me otherwise. So what we're going to do is put you through the prospecting step, and we're going to find out, are you genuine? Are you authentic? But here's the expectations. Remember, I said keep your expectations real. Remember that? How many of those contacts are prospectable? So, brother, at Cross Point, you said you had 850 members. Okay, so that's let's say that if we did all the steps in our contact step, you got 10,000 contacts. I think it's very achievable. Of the 10,000 contacts, now listen, 10,000 contacts. How many prospects do you get from 10,000 contacts? 1,000. 1,000, that's it. You're going to get 1,000. 9,000 of them are not prospectable. There's no way you can reach them right now. They're not reachable. They don't want to be reached. And if you force yourself on them, you're going to do more harm than good. You're waiting for an opportunity. You're waiting for an opportunity to prospect. And you say, Rob, that sounds so technical. You know, is there any better way to describe? Sure. Let me give you some better ways. All right, here we go. Prospecting, love. Prospecting, compassion. Prospecting, kindness. Prospecting, service. That's prospecting. That's what we do. Now, Prospector Joe doesn't love the dirt. He sifts it. He uses a machine and he tries to separate. I'm not doing that. But the concept is the same. I'm trying to figure out through love, compassion. I'm not using a sifter through love, compassion, and service. I'm trying to figure out which one of those contacts can become a Bible study. So the system's very important because it's a process that I'm going through. Jesus, the halt, the blind, the maimed, the poor. I mean, he understood. When people saw the Son of God, they got that. And he was very effective at reaching out to these. I think, Chris, you used the terms, the people behind the weeds. We don't see them, right? You can't see them, and they're hidden back there, all right? Society has left them behind. They're lonely. And these are folks that sometimes we forget about, but yet they're soiled. They need somebody. And so prospecting, this is our prospect list. So Prospector Joe is my example. Now, if you don't have a prospect list, let me repeat this again and again and again and again. If you don't have a prospect list, you are creating for yourself a juggernaut. You're creating for yourself an unnecessary problem. A lot of our churches do not do this. They don't want to do it because it takes work. And so they just skip this step, and somehow they have some mental list or some app somewhere. Brethren, you cannot make everything into an app. Okay, I wish you could, but you cannot. There are some things we still have to put down on a piece of paper because 30%, 20%, 40% of your membership is not going to use the app. And the app has limitations. And everybody wants to app this. I'm asking you, do not app it. Do not do that. You need to put it down on paper. Name, Sharon Fisher. Relationship, friend of Brandy Fleming. Description, discouraged. Address, multiple. That means the entire Church of Christ is going to love that woman. Everybody's going to go on. We're all in. Everyone. So we're going to make sure that Sharon Fisher knows the Church of Christ loves her. And we're going to do it for 3 weeks. That's the date added, DA, date added. That means we're going to put the date we add her there. And so in this particular instance, in this prospect list, now I have an idea, who is it that I'm trying to reach? So when you call me and say, hey, Rob, we're having struggles. Well, who's on your prospect list? What list? That's the first problem. The second problem is you really don't have anybody. I can't emphasize how important this is. Please make sure your local church does this right here. Now, because it's a printed public list, let me give you just some suggestions. You don't have to call it a prospect list. Let's say that prospect, Sharon Fisher, walks in, sitting next to the bulletin is this prospect list. She puts it, and there's her name. Now, it's 50-50. She could be touched or offended. So what do we call it? Prayer list, compassion list, love list. For our purposes as prospects. But you call it whatever. You just call it your love list, call it your compassion list, call it your prayer list. At Willette, we called it the prayer list. I don't like to call it the prayer list because people confuse that with that bulletin thing with all the names in it. All right, this is not it. Who goes on the prospect list? Prospects. Who does not go on the prospect list? You. Oh, Chris, Travis, he's a faithful member at Hatton, and he's a wonderful man, and we love Travis. He's got this surgery coming up. Don't you think we need to put him on the prospect list to send him some cards? Everybody loves Travis, and, if we're going to send cards to this person we don't even know, Travis needs some cards too. And she's 90 years old. She's so sweet. We love this lady. She's a founding member. What happens when you put Travis on the prospect list? What's going to happen? Y'all tell me, what's going to happen as soon as Travis goes on the list? Okay, so what did you say? Say that again. That's exactly what happens. You have lost one exception, you lose the war. It just takes one exception. And that's going to be difficult. So elders, you have to stand your ground. You know what I say? Hey, we'll put him in the bulletin on that prayer list name thing there. You'll be there probably for 6 months because we'll forget you're there, but you're going to be on that list. And we're going to put you in that bulletin list, but we're not putting you on this list. This list is for lost people, not Travis. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? This is very important because I've seen churches get ruined right here. They don't follow instruction. I say, don't do that. They do it anyway. And I said, well, that's where your problem is. Let's keep going. Now, everybody get that training card out. So that's your training card. It's in your bag. Everybody get it out. Again, if you're watching online and you want access to this material, there are some materials here. It's first come, first serve. See Travis Harmon. And we've got a lot of stuff. And here it is. So we've got this card right here. Everybody see this card? This is very important. On the front side of it is the actual model. So that's the model on the front side. On the back side, that's your training. So if a church is going to do this, if you're going to get your church participating, what's the one thing that has to be done? They have to be trained. If they don't understand what you're doing, if they're half of them are confused and lost, this falls apart. How hard is this to understand? The picture itself explains it. Your individual bookmark goes to the transfer portal, the contact card, and gives me the congregational prospect list. That's it. I mean, it's real simple. And we're going to do it every single week. Every week, we're going to pull those names out of the membership. Every single week. And in order to make sure everybody understands, Sunday night, we like to use the Sunday evening service for the training, not Monday night, not Tuesday night, because no one comes. Sunday night, instead of preaching a sermon, what we're going to do is have a training session. And we're going to pass this out to every single person in the pew. And I've got the sermon on the website to give you, and you need to preach a sermon or teach a class on how to do this. Now, if you don't do that, the membership won't do it. I'm telling you, the membership will not. This goes back to Toyota. This goes back to Ford, Chick-fil-A. How much training do those companies do? A lot. They do a lot of training, and it's all the time. They're always training. If you skip this, if the elders are the only ones that know what's going on, if no one else in the church understands what you're trying to do, I guarantee it falls apart. I guarantee it doesn't work. This is not something we put in a filing cabinet and lock it away because it's top secret. This is something that everybody does. It's called congregational evangelism, and it will not work unless it's congregational. Now, that's your context. Now, what are we going to do next? We're going to build our list. Now, I want everybody to go through your cards in your bag. We're going to look for a gray one, and the gray one that we're looking for says visitors on it. All right, so I'm looking through mine. It's going to be gray because gray is soil. I've tried to start color coding these. Gray is soil, And that's what we're looking at is soil right now. And it says visitors on the backside. Now we got the visitor card. That's our training card. Now I'm going to do some practical things this morning. And Chris, you can't answer this question because you know the answer. All right. What's the number one thing a person wants when they visit a church? What is it? They walk inside. What's the number one thing they want? A greeting. Carol, you can't answer either because I think you know. Okay, if you know if you've gone through my material before, don't answer. I want people to give me their honest answers. What is it? A greeting. They want to be greeted, okay? Very good, and I think that's important. Anything else? They want to feel like family, like warmth. They want to have a personal connection. None of these answers are wrong. It's not wrong to greet. It's not wrong to make people feel warm. What's the number one thing a person wants? Now, here's how I found out the answer. Okay, Pew Research Center did a poll, and recently Lifeway did a poll. They both got the same answer, and it's overwhelming. But let me not give you the answer. Let me make this personal. How many of you ever travel and visit other churches? Travis, I know you do that. Okay, well, you travel and visit other churches. Okay, when you are in a strange place and you don't know anyone, and you're going through town, and you stop, and we have to do this sometimes, and I walk into a church. We do this sometimes on Sunday nights because we finish on Sunday morning, and I can't get home because I'm in Oklahoma. So I just find a church, and I walk in. Purposefully, I don't want them to know it's me. I don't want them to know it's me. I just walk in. Okay, what do you want to do when you walk into that church? What's the thing that you want to do with your family as soon as you walk in? Yeah, you want to know where to go. That's important. But where are you going? Where is it you want to get to? You want to sit down. You want to sit down because you're uncomfortable standing up. You're uncomfortable. You don't want to be. Do you want the greeting committee to come up and surround you and interrogate you? Do you want the welcome wagon to point, big flashing lights, and then the people with earpieces, we got one on door number 1, he got a backpack, surround him now. And we don't want any of those things going on, all right? We just want to let them go sit down. Now, I'm going to spend probably 30 minutes here. There's a reason for this. Let me back up. Visitors are baptized at the highest rate of any contact you got. And repeat that. The visitor is the hottest contact you've got. And our churches do not a poor job. They do a terrible job with this. Terrible. And I'm going to give you experiences that I've had. I'm going to tell you some things that have gone on. So we're going to spend time right here. Now, that visitor walks in and sits down. You need two things. You need two things in this team. This is a team. We're going to create teams. We need the greeting team, and we need the pew team, the pew greeters and the door greeters. Door greeters and pew greeters. Those are the two groups we need in this team. A door greeter's job is just to open the door. And I've never been to Highland Park. Is it a big building? Is it a pretty good sized building? Okay. If you were a stranger and you've never been to Highland Park and I just walked in, would it be a little bit intimidating to know where to go? Some buildings are more intimidating than others because there's so many, you're not familiar with which direction to go. So the job of a door greeter, all right, is to direct the person to the auditorium and to say hello. Welcome to the Highland Park Church of Christ. We're glad you're here. Our auditorium is to the left. In fact, I would be glad to walk you over there. That's what door greeters do. That's all they do. We're not going to play 20 questions. We're not going to have an investigation. All we're going to do is get them to the auditorium because the one thing I want to do is for them to sit down. And brethren, I can't do my job if they're not sitting down. Okay, I need them to sit down. I want them to sit down. That's where things start. That's what door greeters do. Who's qualified to be a door greeter? Everyone. So if you're in a congregation, I know I've got some elders here, right? And you're trying to make sure everybody has a job, this is one of those places where you can put the awkward folks. Okay, you can put the folks that just, they don't have a lot of, they're not going to conduct a Bible study. You don't want them conducting a Bible study. But they can open a door. Okay, they can open a door and they can say, our auditorium's right. And you're going to teach them and train them how to be friendly, how to smile, be nice, all right? Door greeters, very simple, no disrespect intended, one talent work, okay? Now, the pew greeters, they're Navy SEALs. They're Navy SEALs. The pew greeters are highly trained folks. The pew greeters are going to go through extensive training. The extensive training is that they need to know what is the goal. So we're at a church, and in fact, the Petersville church did that Sunday morning. And I love Petersville. I love all these churches. They all do the same thing. If you're visiting this morning, there's a card in the pew back in front of you. If you pull the card out and fill it out, we'll have a record of your attendance. How many people fill out that card? I mean, 20%. You're probably somewhere around. So I'm at a congregation. Now I'm in a sophisticated congregation. I'm talking like a everything's modern. You got screens everywhere. You can tell this is upscale congregation, white collar. I go to that church, and the preacher, we don't do those. We took those out of the pews. Of course, they've taken the pulpits out. They've taken everything's. It's a completely different look. And so we use QR codes. I had a preacher say, we use QR codes here. I said, how many of the visitors use the QR code? Well, that's the problem. About 20%. Brother, it doesn't matter. They're not going to do it. You can't app this. You can't use your card. None of this works. What does work? How about if I said this? Our method will give you a 99.99% success rate. So I've used it for 20 years. I've had one person not do it. I think it was a convict. One person. Only one person didn't fill it out. All right? Here's what I do. We're going to train a group of people on what to do when a visitor walks in the door. And I would like you to volunteer. Chris, would you help me? Would you help me this morning? I'm going to put Chris in a pew right here, our chair, and I'm going to put myself here. Chris has been escorted into the auditorium. He sits down. He's a few minutes before the church starts, and I'm one of the Navy SEALs, and I'm looking around, and I said, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to walk over, and I'm going to sit in my chair. Now, here's where I'm not going to sit. I'm not going to do that. Do you know why I'm not going to do that? I violated his space. He has no idea who I am, completely uncomfortable. I'm either going to do this, or I'm going to get in front of him, and I'm going to do that. But I will not sit on the same place he's sitting. I'm going to give him his space. So I'm going to sit down, but I have a memorized script right here. It's memorized. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down, and let's say maybe I'm sitting like over here to the side here, and sit down and say, sir, are you visiting this morning? Yeah, my name's Rob. Hey, I'm one of the members here. Nice to have you. Where are you from?
Hatton, Alabama.
Hatton, Alabama. Wow. What brings you here this morning?
Just moving to the area.
Glad to have you this morning. And man, this is a really friendly church. We have a gift bag. I'm going to go get it for you. Just be right back. So all this is strategic. I'm going to go get my gift bag. The ladies have put these gift bags together. And this is where elders need to understand. Your ladies are key. They need to have a job to do. Make sure they're involved. And so you have some widow ladies, some older ladies maybe, and the elders say, listen, here's a $200 budget a month. We need you to go to the Dollar Tree, make your visitor bags. Just make sure we have them, make sure we have them. So you get everybody involved. Everybody's involved in evangelism. No one's left out. You say, but we paid this man right here. He can go get the bags. Do not get the bags. Don't do it. Get somebody else involved. And so maybe it's even teenagers, college. It doesn't matter, but get people involved. So I'm going to bring the bag back. Hey, Chris, this is a gift bag here for you. And he's going to take that bag, look at it. And it's got some little neat things in it, And we just want you to know we're glad you're here. And Chris, our church is a very loving church. We're a card-sending church. We love to send cards to visitors and just thank them for coming. Would it be okay if I got your address so we could send you a card thanking you for coming? Now, notice, I'm doing it. I'm not asking him to do it. I'm not saying, fill that out. He don't want to fill anything out. But if I do that, if I do what I just did with Chris, 99 out of 100, I'm going to get the information. Now, is that going to happen organically? If let's say, Chris, you got up here and said, okay, church, this is what we're going to do. Are they going to do it? No. But if we teach a lesson and let everybody know the plan, and then the elders select, all right, depending on your size, 8, 10, 15 families, have a coordinator, a group coordinator right? And trained, highly trained, and their job, you guys got Sunday morning, you got Sunday night, you got Wednesday night, all right? And we walk in, and they can't have assigned pews. They're going to sit wherever the visitors are. Where am I going to sit? I'm out of commission. I'm out of commission because I'm not moving. You're going to have to get the other person because I'm only focused on Chris Miller. That's all I'm focused on, all right? So as the service progresses, when it ends, Chris is going to stand up. So Chris stands up. Go ahead, Chris stands up. Hey, Chris, what'd you think of our preacher this morning? Fair? Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good. What'd you like about it?
He preached from the Bible.
Hey, I love the Bible too, man. Hey, there's a little restaurant down the road, and my family, it's a tradition in my home. We always love to take just someone out to eat and just get to know them. Could we take you out to eat and just get to visit with you a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, great. So, sit back down just for a second, Chris. Yeah. So here's what just happened, okay? So I moved to step 2. Step 1 is I need his contact information. Now, if that's all I get, that's successful. That's all I get. I've had success. But if I can move you to step 2, which is I'm going to move you from contact to prospect, that's what I'm trying to do, because I need to spend time with you. I'm going to take you to dinner. So we're going to go out to the little cafe, and we're going to sit there, and now I'm going to start my questions. Remember, I have 3 introductory questions and 3 transition questions. He's not ready for transition. He is ready for introductory. And the introductory questions, remember, are these 3. Number 1, hey, where are you from? Number 2, what do you do for a living? Number 3, hey, what do you enjoy doing? And these are all designed to get Chris to tell me his story. Chris has a story to tell. He'll tell me his story, and I need him to talk to me, and that develops the bridge that I need to move him to the next step. And so this is the process that we use. It works very well. Now, for elders that are in our audience, I want to give you guys a little bit more information. So if I'm an elder, right, and I'm going to create a team, if you're a church of 850, you're going to have a lot of people in this team, right? So, but here's the one thing that sometimes we don't think about, all right? How many of you have ever gone on work lunches, like your lunch, your job sends you to a lunch, and they want you to have lunch with somebody? And maybe they send you on a trip, and they give you a per diem, and they say you got $40 a day, $50 a day for lunch, whatever. If you're expecting the membership of your congregation to take people out to eat, most of your members said, no problem, I'll do it for the first week. Now, I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. I have these envelopes. They're marked. I can have only so much money in my envelope. The second Sunday, I look at my envelope and said, ooh. And I don't have it. So either I charge it, but I shouldn't have to be charging things. You know what the elders should have in the office? They should have gift cards. They should have cards to Olive Garden, cards to Calhoun Steakhouse, cards to Chili's, whatever it is you do, Slim's Chicken, Zaxby's. And as an eldership, you don't announce this. You do not announce this. You only tell the coordinator of that group, hey, we got some gift cards. If you've got a team member and they're taking someone out to eat, hey, do you need a gift card? We've got some. We'll be glad to help you if you need it. There are a lot of us in this room, we don't need help. That's our alms. We want to do it. We don't want any credit. We don't want anyone to know. We'll be glad to do it. But there are some who don't. They just don't have it, but they want to help. So we're going to help them. We're going to help them. We're going to say, we got some gift cards in the office, and they're right here. We got Zaxby's, whatever it is, whatever the local restaurants are. And that's just a little bit of inside baseball there. So we did that. We've done it at every church I've been a part of. We help the membership. How do you think it makes a member feel when an elder has their back? Really good. When the elder says, listen, not only do we need you to do this, we'll help you do it. We'll help you do it. It makes remember I said when I started this, you have to invest in your membership. We have no problem investing in India. Let's invest in our members. Our members sometimes need a little help. All right? So now, that's what now let me tell you some story. I guess you can go back, Chris, and say, no, thank you, Chris. That was a good demonstration. So let me talk about our travels. So one of the things I've noticed in our travels is that our churches do a very poor job of recognizing visitors. And I used to do this all the time. The last 3 times I've done it, the preacher recognized me when I came in, and he actually interrupted the service. And hey, we have with us Brother Whitacre. It's hard for me to get away with this anymore. But we used to go incognito. We would walk into a church, and my family knew what I'm doing is testing that church. I'm going to see what they do. I've gone into 2 churches that have schools of preaching located. I mean, this should be the prime example of what a church does. I walk into the church, there's not one person that greets me, not one person that says hello. I get into the auditorium, I sit down, not one person comes up to me. I go through the entire service, not one person says hello. People look at you while they're going by because they realize you're not supposed to be here. You know, you're not supposed to be here. And then I walk out of the church, no one says a word. In fact, that happened to me a couple years ago, and I was so furious. And my wife could see my blood pressure was up. I was red in the face. I said, honey, I'll be right back. She said, don't do it. Rob, don't do it. I was heading to the eldership. I was so furious at just what happened. Because if it happens to me, it's happening to everybody else. Should a visitor ever be able to walk into your auditorium and leave without contact information? Should that ever happen? No, it should never happen. But it happens all the time. And they're the hottest prospects we got. And that's because we're not intentional and we don't do the training. We do not do the training. And you have to make this intentional. Now, I just gave you some nuts and bolts of what I'm talking about. I'm trying to help you see that there is a vision, a plan, and the plan has to be meticulously followed. If you do not have a plan and train people, none of this happens. So when say, oh yeah, we're going to do visitors. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? So there's actually a sermon and a training card that can be preached. There's a training card right there. And so we can actually do that. We're going to have Chris preach a sermon on visitors. We have the sermon on the website. Actually, we use Genesis and Lot and his family, how they were treated as visitors. It's a good sermon. And then, what's our goal? What do we want? We even have it down to what do you put in the gift bag? Here are the contents. This is what we recommend you put in that bag. So we understand there are 4 parts. We're going to identify our visitors. That's part 1. Part 2, we're going to investigate the visitor, local or temporary. In other words, are they just passing through? Did they say, oh, yeah, I'm from San Antonio. We're just passing through on our way to Florida. That is not who I'm looking for. I'm not going to sit a Navy SEAL next to them. All right, that is not what I'm trying to do. Now, it doesn't mean I wouldn't give them a bag. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't be kind. It just means I'm not going to invest my resources into a person like I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to try to identify, is this person, as someone that we can prospect? Then here's my 3rd step. I'm going to get information. I need information. So I'm going to get that information. I'm going to write it down. Then my 4th step is I'm going to invite them by using a prospect list. So immediately they go on my prospect list. Remember, our prospect list is right here. So I put them on the list. And what am I going to do? I'm going to send cards, lots of cards. We're going to send visitor cards, not the form letter from the secretary. That is not going to move them. That is not going to create what you're wanting. You need the members of the church, not one card with 20 signatures. Stop being cheap. All right, let's get the cards out. Again, if we can spend $5,000 in India, we can spend a little money at home. All right, so we're going to get cards. They're specialized compassion cards. They're very, very evangelistically pointed. We're going to have everybody do it. Group 1, if you're a bigger church, we divide you in groups, and we may even divide the visitors out. But we want that visitor getting 3 to 4 cards per day for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, we want them to keep getting cards. Say, we're thankful you're here. We want you to come back. So that's how we do visitors. That is a contact. That's a great contact. They're hot contacts. They're baptized at the highest rate. Now, we're going to add to that, and we're going to keep adding. So how do we do that? All right, we look for every net. We're going to cast every net we possibly can into the sea to get as much fish. We're going to use House to House, Heart to Heart. House to House, Heart to Heart is a 12-page colored magazine. It advertises your church. Is advertisement important to a church? Is advertisement important to Walmart? Is it important to Miller Pool? Is it important to your lawn and landscape business? My son, is Jared, and he's 15 years old, and he says, hey, Dad, I want to start a company. I said, sure. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to start a lawn company. And I said, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We're going to make it an LLC. We're going to do everything like we should. And you're going to learn how to run a business. We're going to have accounts, everything. And it's been exciting. He's 15. He can't drive without me. He has no equipment. I said, no debt. I said, you can use my trailer, my stuff, and I'll drive you. I said, Jared, what's the first thing you need for your business? He says, customers? I said, yes. I said, how are you going to do it? Door to door? I said, good idea. He says, Dad, I got a plan. I said, what is it, son? He says, I'm going to give a first lawn free. I said, perfect. He is today 21. He employs people. He owns all his equipment. He does commercial properties. Now he does landscaping. It's insane. He did it all from going door to door and advertising his business. He'd give them a flyer. He'd give them something. He'd send something. He'd advertise. If you do not advertise your presence, they're not coming. The people, you do not assume people know you're there because you're there. They don't know you're there. All right? So that's what this is about. This is about advertising. Y'all see that box right there? Y'all recognize what that box is? You know, those are the apartment guides, right? Those are the, the home sales. That's house-to-house guide. You can actually get that. We have those. You put them in places where people gather. You put your house-to-house in there. You send them to the people in your community for 40 cents. We print it for 40 cents. We mail it. We make sure that everybody understands that the Church of Christ is in their area. What do you want to advertise? You want to advertise your Facebook page? You want to advertise your website? You want to advertise your services you provide? There are services that if you provide them, people will respond to them. All right? People don't respond to radio program 9:30. They don't respond to that. They will respond to free transportation to the building. They will respond to free community services. They will respond to Bible classes for all ages. Those are things people gravitate to, they respond to. So we're trying to advertise the presence of the church. Advertising is important, but you got to do it right. So the house to house does this. Setup is the key. Here's something else we're going to do. On the back of it, we're going to advertise your events. What are events that a church can do that brings people? Y'all name them. What are they? What that bring people? What is it? Nothing brings people like Vacation Bible School. I mean, nothing. People come for Vacation Bible Schools unlike any other event that a church does. So you advertise it. On the back of that, you put, hey, our VBS is, these are the dates, right? So you advertise. What are other things you can advertise that bring people? Gospel meetings. That's one thing that you can do, right? You can say, hey, we're having this meeting. So I'm going to suggest that if you're going to advertise a gospel meeting, you need to advertise it with some specificity. It needs to be like, hey, we're having a parenting seminar. Hey, we're having a family, a marriage of seminar. Something that attracts people. Gospel meetings reach out to you. They don't reach out to the average person. All right? So we want to be very specific in our advertising and how we do it. All right? What are some other things that bring people? How about a backpack drive? Do backpack drives work? Well, let me tell you about our backpack drive. So I'm at the Carnes Church of Christ. We're getting ready to do one of these big campaigns. And one of the elders called me and they said, hey, Rob, we want to do a backpack drive as part of our evangelism effort. I said, great. We understand you've got some ideas about that. I said, I do. Would you work with our deacon? I said, I will. So I get to the church, the deacon opens up this room, and he's got more backpacks than Walmart. He's got crayons and scissors and safety scissors and, everything that a person needs. And he says, Rob, I said, what are those orange cones for? Oh, we're going to rope off the parking lot. We think we can give out 700 backpacks. I said, brother, I love you, and I appreciate everything you're doing. This is great. You're serving your community. I would put the backpacks in the Bible classes. Huh? Yeah, I'd put them in the Bible classes, and then I'd require people to walk into your church building to get them. I'd have your members on standby in the foyer to give the people that come a tour, an open house tour of your church building. I would take the children to the actual class where they would attend if they came. I would have the teacher hand them the backpack. Then I would take them over to the fellowship hall and have a meal provided. I would sit with that person, eat with that person, ask the 3 introductory questions, get the contact information, and then walk them to the car. Rob, we can't pass out 750 backpacks like that. But you had a Bible study the day you did it. What happens if you advertise something like that? What happens if you let the whole community know? And we don't do it the traditional way. We just throw backpacks into the back of the truck. And, there's a tract there about the church. How successful is that going to be? I mean, how many people are coming because of your tract? How many people are coming because, the church gave me a backpack, brethren? The Lions Club can give backpacks. All right, the Rotary Club you're not the Rotary Club. You're the Church of Christ. You're an army of soul winners. Your job is to reach out and to help teach them the gospel of Christ. You're not going to. So here's one of our cardinal rules. on every activity we do for a community, here's our cardinal rule. You must come inside the church building. So everything we do brings them inside. I want you inside the church building. I want you to meet our people. I want you to be I want you to get used to who we are. Bring them inside. Let them see who you are. There's a lot of big church buildings in Florence, and you are scary. Because people walk in, they have no idea where to go. You know where to go. They don't know where to go. Let's get them inside. Let's tour them around. Let's introduce them to membership. And let's advertise in the community and let people know. So every year, you should be advertising events like the backpack drive. What's another one? Trunk or treat. Yeah. Have you ever had a trunk or treat at the church? Who's done that before? Right? How many people come to trunk or treat? Brethren, when a Reese cup costs $2, they're all coming. I'm telling you, they're all coming. It's $2 for a Reese cup. So the whole community's coming. And so what do? We advertise it on the back. So you've got a trunk or treat. Now, if you just do a trunk or treat like we normally do trunk or treats, you're wasting your time. Here's what we did at Willette. On the back of the House to House, we said, soup contest, trunk or treat. Bring your best soups. Award given to the best soup. We have people come in groves bringing their soups. Every man thinks he has the best soup recipe in the world. And it's just our manhood. We all have the best chili. We're all going to make our chili. We think our chili is the best chili. And we're going to bring our chili and have this contest. And we did. Guess what? We had hundreds and hundreds of people in our fellowship hall that are not members of the church. We advertised it. That goes right into their mailbox. It's 40 cents. It goes into their mailbox every single month. And so you have to strategically plan. You have to have a coordinator. That coordinator says, the elders say, here are the events we're going to do. You make sure they're advertised every time that publication is sent out. You make sure the community knows about it. So this is important. I can't tell you how many people we baptized because of things like this. Let's keep going. That's a training card that helps the church understand the importance of promoting your church and letting people know you're there. They're not coming if they don't know you're there. All right, new movers. Now, let me see, I've got the statistics here. Petersville Church of Christ, I'm going to share them with you. This is Petersville Church of Christ, and I've got their stats right here. Because we did the research before I came. I'm doing this at Petersville at night. Let me give you their numbers. All right, very good. Right around the Petersville church building, so that would be the edge of the county. Like you're on the actual county line. You're about out of Florence or about in the county. I think it depends on what side of the parking lot you're on. That's what I'm told. All right. So right around Petersville, just the community surrounding Petersville, there are 13 families moving there every month. 13 families. We call those new movers. Okay, you got 13 brand new families moving there a month. Now, what do we know about new movers? We know that new movers are the most likely people to change churches in their life. There's not another time in your life before that you're more likely to change church because you've moved. Now, here's something about our culture that's different. In our culture, most people don't care where they go to church. It's not like it was in the 1970s. A Baptist is a Baptist, a Methodist is a Methodist, a Presbyterian is a Presbyterian. They're not looking at anything else because that's what we are. It's not like that today. So when they move into a community, they're most likely to go to the church that reaches out to them first. Guess who's going to do that? At House to House, Heart to Heart, we know exactly who they are. At House to House, Heart to Heart, we're going to give you their address. At House to House, Heart to Heart School of Evangelism, we're going to train you on what to say and what to do. So let's role play a little bit again, Chris. You and I role play. So come back up here, Chris, if you can. So Chris is going to be here, and I'm going to be over here. And remember, I said I'm going to make this very practical. So Chris is on the other side of the door. This is Rob, and I have this information with me like this. I'm going to come to the door. All right, knock, knock, knock. He opens the door. You Chris Miller?
I am.
Did you just move here?
I did.
Now, what is he going to say to me?
Who are you?
That's exactly right. And what else is he going to say to me?
Why are you here?
Yeah, what else is?
Why?
Yes, exactly. And it's all in all likelihood. Well, Chris wouldn't do that. He may cuss me. All right, he may just really chew me out. What are you doing in my door? Well, he's going. Hey, where'd you get that information? How'd you get? Who are you? Because we immediately think that person on the other side of the door is what? What do we think they are? Yeah, a scam artist, a salesman. I don't want you. Why? How'd you get my information? Where'd you get it? Now you're on the defensive, right? I got it from church. Where'd the church get it from? well, I don't know. It's a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster. So it says, oh, yeah, we'll do new movers. If you're not trained, you won't. You'll make a mess out of it. That's why you need a school. That's why we have training. Okay? So an eldership would look out, and I would recommend your young people. They're very good at this. In fact, they actually break ice. College students, high school students, always have ladies in this group. There's some key demographics we're looking for here. Okay? So populate your group, then we're going to meet, and now I'm going to do this very differently. I'm just going to pretend this right here is my gift box. Right here. That's heavy. All right. So this is my gift box. I'm going to come to the door, knock on it again. I'm going to step back. He's going to open it up. Hey, I'm one of your neighbors down the street. I know you just moved into the area. We got this gift my wife and I made for you. And I'm going to hand it to him. And it is heavy. It is heavy. And I'm going to give him the gift. And I'm going to say, hey, man, where'd y'all move from? Colorado. So now we're going to I have a script. And I'm following it in my mind, my introductory questions. I'm going to go through it, and I'm just going to make conversation to get to know him. What's my end game? What do I want? What is it that I want from Chris Miller? Okay, you're close. You're very, very close to what I want. What is it? Come to church. No. And I want that, but not here. It's too soon, Carol. So if I immediately start trying to get him to come to church, it's not going to work, okay? So, but I do want it, but not yet. Yes, ma'am. I want to get to know him. Everybody look at the model. Everything I do is very simple. What's the one thing I need? What's the first step I always take? With the model. Look at the model. Everybody say it. It's right there. What is it, Travis? Make a contact. That's all. If I make a contact with Chris, and Chris and I are talking, and you know, I'm from Colorado. Hey, you ever do any hunting in Colorado? Wow, I love, yeah. So we start striking things up, and, you know, we're just talking about it. I made a contact out of him. Hey, man, maybe I'll come back again sometime. We can talk. I'd love to talk about hunting with you. And it's a real open, good conversation. Oh, by the way, that gift I just gave you, that's from our local church, and I'm just going to leave it there. He might ask, hey, where do you go to church at? That's good. I didn't invite him to church. I just say, hey, by the way, our church made that for you. I'm just trying to communicate with him. And if he says something like that, if it's real friendly, thank you, Chris, that's good. So if he's real friendly, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that back to the church. Let's go back here again. And guess what? Guess where he goes? Guess what list I'm putting him on? The prospect list. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to send him cards, lots of cards. We're going to send him cards welcoming him to the community. Now, not only that, but see this right here? That right there is called the New Mover postcard. Guess who sends that to him? We do. Guess how much it costs? Oh, we're not done. We're also going to send him the House to House Heart to Heart Visitor magazine. And we're going to send this 2 weeks apart. On the back side of that, and this is all in your material, this material here is for you. It gives the service times and a map of how to get to the church building. So let me explain, let me put all this together for you. We're going to buy their address and information. We're going to do it for you. We're going to print that postcard with your customized information on it. We're going to print an 8-page color magazine with your customized information, and we're going to send it. How much do you think that costs? Anybody? Give me a cost estimate. What do you think that's going to cost you guys? Anybody? $1. $1. We're going to charge $1. Do you know why? Because we have to pay for it. Obviously, there's not a profit margin in here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to provide the church the service they need in order to reach the lost. So, new movers. So, somebody do some math for me. Petersville has 13 families moving right around their church building every month. How many contacts is that a year? 156? Is that did I do the math right? Yeah. I'm going to give you their names and addresses. And so I go to some churches, they have 70, 80, 50, 40. I've seen as much as 130 people moving in every month. Our nation is very transitory right now. People are moving. They're coming from all over to come to Alabama. They're coming to Tennessee. They're coming. And they're moving from everywhere. And these are people who do not have church homes. David Shannon said one time, he said, people are most likely to change churches when they move. A couple of generations ago, if a couple or a family moved from one city to another city, they usually stayed at that same denomination. He said, those days are over. He said, those days are over. He's exactly right. It's over. The average person today is willing to look at any church in their neighborhood. That gives us an excellent opportunity to share with them the Word of God. Brethren, I want them to visit the Church of Christ. That's what I want. So you got 130 church families moving around Petersville, and you have a team of people trained, highly skilled Navy SEALs, and you go visit them every month. All right, of the 130, how many of them are going to visit? A few. That's all you need. Thank you, Chris. Remember our term, a few? That's all you need is a few. What happens if a few? Now let's start adding this up, because this is when evangelism becomes pretty exciting. What if you have a few people come because of house to house? What if you have a few people come because of visitors? What if you have a few people come because of your bookmark? Now what do you got? Growth. You got growth. If you do not go all in, if you try to cherry pick this, if you say, we'll try this, all right. I know you're not going to last, because it's not going to give you the results you want, and you're going to end up quitting. Evangelism is not something you cherry pick. Evangelism isn't something you just try. Someone says, Rob, this is a lot of stuff you're giving us. I'm not even starting. I got a lot more. Rob, when are we going to finish all of this? When Jesus comes. Listen carefully. You don't finish evangelism. It's the culture of your church. It's what we do every Sunday. We do it every time, every day. Everything I do is about reaching out to people. And I'm going to give you I'm going to throw every net I can think of to try to get you there. And so not only are we going to use visitors and bookmarks and members and house to house and new movers, we're going to train you. What's the part? We're going to train you how to do it. We're going to have a whole sermon so the church knows, hey, and what happens when you preach a sermon? You know what happens? Hey, Chris, I had a neighbor move in next door. And Chris is going to look at us like, oh, hey, they're not on our list yet. Let's go ahead and do it now. Now the members begin to realize, hey, brother, that U-Haul was there yesterday. Don't wait for the list. Get on it. Now they got skin in the game now. Now your members they're thinking. They don't see a neighbor. I don't want you to ever see a neighbor. I want you to see a contact. No plumbers, no electricians, no mowers. I don't want you to see anything but a contact. Everybody you meet's a contact. And if it's not, you've got a problem. I don't know plumbers. I don't know pool guys. I know contacts. That's all I know. We've got to retrain our minds to think that everybody we see is a contact for Christ. Every person I meet, that's one more person. In fact, brethren, I'm at a point in my life when I meet you, I baptize you right here. You don't even know it, and you're baptized. When a visitor walks into that church, I baptize them immediately right here. You're going to the cross, you don't even know it. It may take me 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years, but you're heading there. I never give up. I'm relentless. I'm going to put you on my target list. You're sitting in my Bible. Every time I see you, all I think about is how can I get you to the cross? I love you. I love you enough that I'll never give up. You can shame me. You can growl at me. You can do whatever you want. I'm never going to give up. You can tell me no 1,000 times. I'm never going to give up. I'm going to keep after you. And it took me 10 years to get to Bruce Bartley. He told me no over and over and over again. I just kept coming at him. He was my guy that put my geothermal in. He wanted to use my house as a kind of a spec. He said, I'll do it for cost if you'll let me put it in. He's not even a member of the church. His wife is. I said, put it in. It was great. And so he puts it in, and all I did is prospect him. I had him eat in my house. My wife fixed him spaghetti one afternoon. I said, Bruce, come on in. Nicole fixed spaghetti. So he comes in and eats with us, and he looks at me. And we're walking out to the car. He says, Rob, I know what you're trying to do. He said, I'm happy where I'm at. My family goes there, and I'm not changing. I said, it's okay, Bruce. You're still my friend, right? Yeah, we'll be friends. I kept trying and trying. I never gave up. And then I went to Bruce and said, Bruce, you've been wanting a brisket. You said you like brisket. I said, I'm going to smoke one. You want to come over? I said, bring Jenny. and Byron's Jared's buddy. And they came over to the house. He's sitting there, and I looked at Bruce and said, Bruce, man, I said, we've known each other for 10 years. I said, what do you think about the ministry we're doing at Willette? He says, it's one of the best I've ever seen. I said, how much do you really know about the Church of Christ, Bruce? He said, I guess just watching my wife, Jenny, you're some of the best people I've ever known. I said, Bruce, would it be okay if I talked to you a little bit about the church? And he said, yeah. I said, I just so happen to have these little booklets. You should have seen his wife when we baptized him. She could have filled the pool. It's amazing what happens when you're that intentional about evangelism. We never give up on people. I was told you couldn't reach Bruce. I don't believe that. Everybody's reachable at some point in their life. Everybody. But most people are not reachable right now. You can't get them. But tomorrow you can. Wait till that car accident happens. It's going to happen. Wait till the house burns down. Wait till the cancer hits. It's life. I don't know what it is that's going to strike you, but it will strike. It strikes everybody. And if the Church of Christ is doing her job, guess who's going to be the first person there? Guess who's going to send the first cards? Guess who's going to make the first visit? Guess who's going to sit in your house? If the Church of Christ is doing her job. If she has a very focused evangelism system. That is what we're trying to do. And that's what has to develop in our churches. And we just keep moving. People say, oh, no, I knew you were going to talk about door knocking doesn't work. The way you do it, it doesn't. I guarantee it. So what's that? What do we normally do when we knock on doors? What's our normal approach? Would you like to come to the gospel meeting? Isn't that what we normally do? We hand them a meeting flyer. Okay, so we'll pass out, 1,000 meeting flyers. How many people come at the 1,000 meeting flyers you pass out, brother? How many they come? Maybe, if you're lucky. One. So you talk it up. The ladies make breakfast. You team up. You go out. You pass out your flyers. You come back. You feel like you've done pretty good. You know you've done your job. One person shows up. So the next time you do it, how many people show up to do it? Less. Why? Didn't work. And people don't like to waste their time. And we do no training. We have people have no idea what to say at the door. We don't know how to approach the door. We don't know what to do at the door. And because there's no training, we have like a 1% success rate. Well, let me give you something to think about. I want you to chew on this. What if I guaranteed, and I'm going to do it, I'm going to guarantee, if you'll do what we teach you in our school, you'll get a 25 to 30% success rate. How about if I guaranteed that? How about if you could look at the members and say, if you'll follow this training, 25 to 30% of your efforts will result in success. So what does success look like at the door? So what are you trying to do? Carol says invite him to church. If that is your motivation, if that's what you're trying to do at the door, you're going to fail. Because getting a person to come to church when they've never met you before, they don't know you, getting a person to do a Bible study with somebody they don't know, it's like taking a football and throwing it all the way down the field. I think they call that the Hail Mary and winning the game. Almost no one in this room is qualified to do that. But you know what I can do? I know what you can do. Can you make a 5-yard pass? How many of us can throw a football 5 yards? I mean, just 5 yards. I mean, everybody in this room can. I mean, we're talking like not very far, right? And so what if we backed up and said, okay, let's reinvent our door knocking. Let's understand that door knocking is not for the purpose of Bible studies. It's not for the purpose of inviting people to church. It's not for the purpose of baptizing them. That is a Hail Mary. You're not going to do it. What if the purpose behind a door knock was just to, what's step one again, everybody? What is it? Make a contact. So how do I do that? Well, so I'm going to pull up. So let's say this is a house here, and my wife and I always go with a woman or a child. Men never knock doors alone. There's 2 reasons for that. One is ethical, and the second one is effectiveness. When they see your scary face, they're not opening the door. You have a beard. You are scary, son. And you look sinister. You're hiding behind that. He's hiding something. Don't open it. He could be a serial killer. Do not open the door for men with beards. But if you take one of these, this little sweet girl right here, this one right there, if you took her with you, oh yes, let's open the door. It's a very different atmosphere. Now, so there are just basic things you got to teach people. Now, so I'm approaching the door, and over to my left, On the house is a bumper, is a sticker that says Marines. Hey, that's all I needed to see. I'm looking for this stuff. And over here, there's a Poopsie, little dog, Poopsie. And they got it fit. And over here, some toys, and there's a flower bed. I'm noticing these things, so I'm looking for them. Okay, now I know exactly what I'm going to do. I knock on the door, I step aside, let them see my wife. I step in. I say, hey, my name's Rob. My wife, Nicole, we just work down the street. I noticed your dog right there. What kind of dog is that? I immediately begin to talk about things that they like. Immediately. Oh, that's a little poodle. I got that dog about a year. I grew up with poodles. I love poodles. What's your dog's name? Poopsie. Oh, Poopsie. Does Poopsie bite? No, come here, Poopsie, come here. Let me try this. This is not hard. I do this all the time. They open the door. All right, come in. Hey, my name's Rob. My wife's now. Hey, man, I noticed that sticker you got on the Marines. Were you in the Marines? And yeah. He said, where were you based out of? Man, thank you for the service to our country. I do it again. Knock on the door. They got a flag sitting there. It's whatever. I'm looking for things I can identify so I can talk to them. That's all I want to do is just be kind and talk. So here's what I know. At the door, if you can have a 2-minute conversation with somebody before you go into while you're there, your odds of success rise dramatically. It's a dramatic increase in success. But when you show up, you say, hey, would you like to have a Bible study? What do you think they're going to do? Anybody? What would you do? I shut the door. I said, no, I don't even know who you are. Why would I want to have a Bible study with you? Right? So it's all about understanding, number one, what's our purpose? It's to make a contact. That's why it's in the contact step, right? And how to do it. Now, we have 4 strategies in our school that we use to make a contact at a door. Here's one of them. That's my gift. So when I go to the door, I got a gift. And I knock on the door, and I make conversation. I got this gift. Oh, by the way, this gift is for you. Huh? I never go to the door empty-handed. I always have a gift in my hand. People like gifts. That's one strategy. It's just a gift strategy. And I just give, and they say, what's this for? I said, well, our church is doing some, just trying to be kind to our community, and we're giving out some gifts, and we just want you to know we care about you. It's a gift package, care package. Here's another one. Let me do this one. I make my conversation. Oh, by the way, again, I'm Rob, my wife, Nicole. And hey, our church is doing some praying for people in the community that are having a hard time. And we're trying to get a list of people we can pray for. And we believe in the power of prayer. And I hope you do too. Is there anybody that you know that needs prayer right now? My mother lives with me, and she just fell. She broke her hip. Could y'all pray for her? Yeah, in fact, man, we have a card ministry. Could we send her some cards? Would she like to get some cards? Oh, you'd send cards? I said, yes, ma'am. Now, we're going to send a lot of them. Oh, yeah, send the card. Well, what? No, your address is 47, what is it, Narrow Lane Road? Oh, okay, we'll make sure to get that down. It works. 25 to 30% of the time, I make contact. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to train you how to knock a door, what to say, what not to say. We're even going to practice it together. Not everybody needs to do this. Not everybody wants to do it. But I need a team in every church that does this. How many times a year should you do this? At least once. The National Door Knocking Day, I think, is going to be September the 27th this year. It's when we ask every Church of Christ to go out and knock doors. We're looking for 1,000 congregations to sign up. And so a church signs up. We give you the training material. We suggest ways to do it, things to say, things not to say. So let's say you knock 1,000 doors. And what's 25% of 1,000? Where's our math people? Okay, 250, right. You just made 250 contacts. Remember I said we'll get to 10,000? It's not hard. So what happens if you knock 2,000 doors? How many contacts you just make? 500? What if we go to Carnes Church of Christ in Knoxville and we knock 4,000 doors? How many contacts did we make? Caleb, can you pull that website up one more time? Let's just pull it up one more time. Let's just see if it's up there. I think it's up there. Let's see our number. Maybe somebody can do some math for me. And this is AMC. There we go. There's our numbers. I love numbers. Let's see. Doors knocked. What is it? 9,290 doors. We talked to 3,586 people. Of those 3,586 people at the door, we made a contact out of 1,051. What's that percentage? It's like, is that about 33, 4% right there? So what if we said, hey, we'll give you a 33% success rate if you'll knock doors the way we teach you? Let me tell you where I've done this at. I've done it all over the country. Cleburne, Texas. It's right outside of Fort Worth. Pretty upscale. I've done it in Knoxville, Tennessee, at West End and in Carnes. Upscale neighborhoods, very upscale. Because I'm always told it doesn't work in upper middle class. So I always love to prove them wrong. It's a challenge for me. And so then we go over to Cary, Tennessee, Larry 5. Cary, very upscale area. Closed communities everywhere. All right, did it again. Then we go to Covington, Tennessee, very rural, depressed area, very rural. Did it again. And so we just keep traveling. We go to Rome, Georgia, right? Got a mixture of folks there. Did it again. And we just keep doing it. This year we're going to go to, these are the two places we're going, Collinsville, Troy, Illinois, Hampton, Virginia. It's free. If you're a Heritage student, I highly recommend you do this. It'll change your life. You'll never be the same. Because we're going to spend all week, 27 hours of class time, 27 hours of practicum. You will see baptisms. We've never had one when we didn't have it. That's in America, not India. It's here. And so this right here, amc.housetohouse.com, excellent. I highly recommend this. It'll change your life. Thank you, Brother Caleb. We'll go back to the PowerPoint. So we're building our contact base. Everybody sees that. Now we got new movers. We got house to house, heart to heart. We're just keep building. Brethren, I'm still at step 1. I've not even got to step 2 yet. Why? Because it's all about contacts, isn't it? Everything I do is about finding contacts. Because I know that if I don't make contacts, nothing else matters. So we say for a church, 40% of your effort in your local church should be right there in steps 1 and 2, 40%. So if you looked at your budget, as your church budget's put together, all right, where is the majority of your budget? Do you even have a line item for making contacts? Do you even have a line item for prospecting the contacts? Because that's where evangelism succeeds or fails. It's right there. So what we want to do is train churches and help them develop a model so that we can move forward. So, Travis, what time does a chapel normally end? 5 minutes ago. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop then and give everybody a break. I'll tell you what I'll do. Would it be okay if I took questions? Does anybody have a question? Some of you just walked in. I want the students at Heritage to know that we donated $400 worth of materials to each one of you. They're in these bags, and there's some gifts there, and we give that to you. So you take one, because there are churches that actually, they went out, and I said, I'm going to Heritage, and they said, hey, we'll help you. We want to help you. And so you can take one of those, and we want you to listen to these lessons. I think they'll be transformational. So you've heard some of the material yesterday and this morning. Give me a question. What is it that you've seen that maybe interests you, or maybe you're a little bit not sure you're understanding everything? Yes, ma'am.
What if you have tried in the past methods that didn't work with a particular person?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Sure.
Over?
Yeah.
Let
Let me give you a good do-over. Everyone in this room can do this. Let me give you a do-over. This works very well. Everybody ready for the do-over? Okay. So I go, and it's got to be someone you're a friend with. You've got to have a good relationship with them or it won't work. So I go up to my friend and say, hey, Bill, my church, and I've been taking this course at my church on how to talk to people who don't know Jesus, how to talk to people who don't know God, and we've got to get to these people out there. You and I know that we have a problem in our country right now. And I've taken this course, and they've taught me how to do it. One of my assignments for this course is that I've got to practice on somebody that I know that's not a member of my church. Would you let me practice on you? Eric Sykes is one of our regional trainers. He doesn't preach. He's a real estate agent at La Plata in Baltimore, Maryland. And so just outside Baltimore. And Eric just did this. And he said they have 19 Bible studies going on right now. It's a church of 60. They got 19 Bible studies out of that. Now, I can give you 6 ways from Sunday to do it, but that works. And so a person will say, yeah, you can practice on me. Yeah, you can do it. And now you're doing a Bible. It's called the Backdoor Bible Study is what I titled it, the Backdoor Bible Study. So, Chris, if you went to Hatton and you say, hey, this week, let's everybody try the Backdoor Bible Study. I wonder how many studies you'd get. See what they explain how to do it. And say, I want everybody to go try it this week. Come back next Sunday and tell me if you got to study or not. That's what Eric did, and I haven't announced it yet. I haven't pushed it yet, but I'd like some churches to try it. He got 19 studies out of 60 members. I thought that was pretty good. That was really good. That's a great question. All right, anybody else have a question? Yes?
My experience is they go from like, this one's pretty short, medium, to a lot longer. Like, when you do a Bible study with using the 3 books, how much time are you basically,
it's a good question.
Doing 90 apiece?
Yeah, I'm doing 60 to 90 apiece. So I can get through those books. And in the red book, you have to understand, you're not going through the whole red book. You're going to about page 9. At page 9, 90% of the people you study with will be baptized. You won't have to go. Is that your experience, Chris? Yeah, you rarely get past page 9. Page 9 is that first close. There are 4 asterisks in the red book. Each one is a close, an invitation song, if you're looking for an explanation of a close. And so most people close immediately. So I never get there. I rarely get past page 9. But if the person's struggling, there's issues, and they don't respond, now it's my job as a teacher to find out, okay, where's the problem? And I'm trying to probe the rest of the book, trying to find out, is it a marriage? Is it a boyfriend, a girlfriend? Is it a moral issue? Is it a parent issue? What is the issue? And that book's designed to help you find that. But the average study that I do, 60 to 90 minutes. And if I went to someone and they said, Rob, my last study was 3 hours. And I said, 3 hours? And I started asking questions. I said, well, tell me about how you did the study. Well, they had a lot of questions. No, you shouldn't be answering the questions. Yeah, because every time they ask you a question, your response is what? Hey, that's a great question. Would you write that down for me? We'll get to it. You'll find the answer. We'll get to it at the end. And so let's just say they say, hey, Chris, my church speaks in tongues. Can you tell me what do y'all believe about tongue speaking? What would you say to me?
It's a great question. I'll answer it after we continue going through this.
That's exactly right. We're not going to, or you'll find the answer as we move through the book. Now, Chris, you get me into that red booklet, and now I realize I'm lost. Do you think I care about tongue speaking anymore? Why are we trying to take them out at Mount Tongue Speaking? They're going to take you out. I'm going to take them to Mount Calvary. So we remember the principles. Remember the 7 principles yesterday? What was principle 7? Hesitate. Don't climb Mount Tongue Speaking. Don't do it. You're going to lose. Well, I got the truth. It doesn't matter. You're still going to lose. All right? Because they have experienced this emotional, and you can't get them past that. They're emotional about it. They're excited. They're jumping up and down, and whatever it is, I promise you're not going to beat it. But when they realize they're lost and they were wrong on the most important issue, salvation, now it's not hard to admit I may have been wrong about the tongue speaking. It's a great question, Travis.
A short follow-up on you're not really preaching through the books. You're letting them, and they are right.
That's right.
They do.
Yeah, Bible study. So I may read a verse from time to time, just to role play a little bit with them. But they're reading the verse, they're filling it in.
You're not making a comment on
No, I'm not. I'm not defining words. I'm saying now the word sanctification. It means to be. I'm not doing that. The Greek word is. I'm not doing any of that. And so the historical context. Now this book was written to the Romans. And then I took this class, and man, I know all about the book of Romans. Now's not the time to impress them. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. What sets you free? Truth. All right, let's go to the next one. It's that easy. And I think if more members understood it was that easy, we'd have more Bible studies, Travis.
Yeah, I think people think that they're like leading them through, but the book is.
The book is, that's right. You're all you're doing is kind of guide. You're just a guide, a little, just keep them on track. The book does most of the work. That's why you need a Bible study method. That's why we don't wing it. That's why we don't just go off. So whether it's open Bible study, back to the Bible, whatever it is, you don't wing it. Have something there, structure there. Okay. Any other questions that you have? Yes, ma'am.
So how do you study family? I know we always talk about family
Sure.
friends, but would you use the same method with family?
I would. I use the backdoor method a lot with family. That's something, because family are more likely to help you. And so if you say, Grandpa, we had a 7th grader. He was in Fordland, Missouri. And he came up and said, Mr. Rob, I got a grandfather. I said, yes. He said, I want him to become a Christian. I gave him the backdoor method. He did it, and he baptized him. 7th grade. his grandfather, who could never be reached. And he said, Grandpa, I'm doing this. I got to practice on somebody. Oh, yeah, you can practice on me. And then Grandpa learned the truth and obeyed the gospel. So yes, family, absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions that you have, comments you have? Again, I want to hope that Caleb's done a great job streaming this. Go back and watch these. This is transformational. This will change your life. Nothing grounds and excites and motivates a person more than evangelism. It is the lifeblood of the church. And if your church is not involved in it and focused on it, your church is dying. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. All right. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Rob. I'm glad that a bunch more of you got to come in, and I think what I felt is that much of you were like, man, I wish I was here yesterday. And that's recorded. You should have been here yesterday. But go back and watch those. Those 7 principles, I mean, it really does work. I think Rob would tell you it's not the only way, but this is a way, and this way absolutely will work, and will work in your congregation. And I promise you it's better than nothing that you're doing now.
Hey, Travis, one more thing.
Yeah.
If you were not in my wife's class yesterday, some of you were, this is not included in your packet. So if you weren't, just walk up and get one. We're donating these to you. This is an excellent book for ladies. You've got a mother and this is a great gift. It's not a recipe book. It's an evangelistic recipe book. It's designed to help ladies fulfill their potential in evangelism. So we have these up here. Y'all are welcome to come get them. They're normally like $15. We're giving them to you. All right.
Also, you've got one other little benefit too. Chris is here. Their congregation's doing it. So if you want to know from the other side, Rob he sounds like a salesman. If you want to hear from the customer side, Rob, you can get it from Rob. Rob believes that when he's talking about that Chris does too, and Chris is the customer. So you can get it from him. And as soon as we get finished with everybody, Dwayne, you'll lead us in a prayer, and we'll conclude with that.
How do you go back and watch yesterday?
Facebook, just go to Heritage Christian University's Facebook page. You can do it that way, or you can go to our Heritage Christian University's YouTube channel, and those videos are on the YouTube channel. I assume you'll leave them up on the Facebook page. So, Heritage Christian University Facebook, but you do have to like and subscribe. Awesome. Thanks, Rob. We're going to continue after lunch. We will take a lunch break here and go eat. We'll let Dwayne lead some prayer. I don't know, you've prayed before, but Jolly, you want to lead some prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you this time for allowing us to be on this time side of life. We thank you for allowing us to be together and be able to learn how to evangelize and spread your word to those that don't know you. Be with us that we'll be able to take this information and be able to spread your word and cause others to know you and to put on you and be able to show others and to spread more and more. Continue to be with this university here, dear God, the school, that they will continue to do great things in your name. Continue to be with all that work here. Continue to be with us also as we eat. Bless the food that we eat, that it will nourish our bodies. This is our prayer that we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.